What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 10SS Chapter 216, Top of the Terrorist Lineup, Turmoil in the City begins. As the news is released, time passes day by day. On this day, the Sabaody Islands became lively. Countless people flocked to the bustling Area 1. In a square in Area 1, a huge screen was installed at some point. At this moment, the scene of Malinfondo was clearly shown on the screen. At the same time, there are almost similar video installations all over the world, playing the same video. Marinefondo, Marine Headquarters. The huge headquarters square is now completely dark, filled with Marines. For this top battle, Marine has mobilized a lot of troops from all over the world, enough to form an army of 100,000. 100,000 troops gathered together and instantly formed a majestic and solemn momentum, rising into the sky. Even across the screen, it is shocking. Countless people started discussing excitedly. Oh my god, Marine is really going to war with Whitebeard. My dear, how many Marines are there in here? Isn't it scary? It's not that Marine wants to go to war with Whitebeard, but Whitebeard will definitely come and kill him. The strongest man in the world deserves Marine's rigorous treatment. Isn't the situation in the world too exciting recently? Mom Kaido and the four emperors all started fighting not long ago, and now it's Whitebeard's turn again. Can Whitebeard save Fire Fist Ace, or will Marine take over for him? Marine is probably very confident that he directly broadcasts the live broadcast, so is Whitebeard, the Emperor of the Sea, also about to fall. That's not necessarily true. He is a man with the power to destroy the world. The war has not started yet. It is too early to tell the outcome. But what is certain is that this war is definitely earth-shattering. To be able to see something like this war is simply a blessing for 3 lifetimes. Yes, when I was young, I saw Roger being publicly executed. I didn't expect that now I can see a big pirate like Whitebeard fighting Marine. It's really worth it in my life. Hey, it's a pity that I am not strong, otherwise, I would be able to participate in such a war. For this duel between Whitebeard and Marine, some people are excited, some are looking forward to it, some are honored, some are regretful, and so on. In the number 1 area square of the Sabaody Islands, some pirate supernovas even appeared. For example, Bonnie and Hawkins. These pirate supernovas were still not killed by Kizaru this time. Instead, they survived. At this time, they even popped out to watch the live broadcast of the war on the top with other civilians on the island. Then everyone sighed again. Marine is really serious this time. I heard there are 100,000 Marines. But the people who decide the outcome of the war are the Marine Generals, Major Generals, Lieutenant Generals, and the 3 Marine Generals. That's not all, the 7 Warlords of the Sea have also arrived. They are also a huge fighting force. Hiss, with such a lineup, even the strongest man in the world will find it difficult to be hostile. I'm even sweating for Whitebeard right now. Don't be so pessimistic. The Whitebeard pirates are not a vegetarian. The captains of each of the divisions have special skills. There are also other affiliated pirate groups with countless capable people. Really counting, the Whitebeard pirates are not that bad. Enter the Dragon, this is a good show this time. Can Whitebeard really rescue Ace, or will Marine seize the opportunity and scoop him up? I'm so excited. There's not much time left before Fire Fist Ace is publicly executed. Whitebeard should appear soon, right? It is no exaggeration to say that this war is highly anticipated. At this moment, at the Malinfondo scene, warring states stood on the high platform with a serious face and arranged things in an orderly manner. 100,000 troops were in position. Thousands of Marine generals were present. There are also the Major Generals and Lieutenant Generals of the headquarters, as well as the 3 Marine Generals guarding the execution platform. Akainu, Aokiji, Kizaru. In addition, there are 7 seats below the 3 generals. It is the location of 7 Warlords of the Sea. At this moment, surprisingly, 5 of the 7 seats were occupied. They are Heavenly Yaksha Doflamingo, Pirate Empress Boya Hancock, Moonlight Moria, Tyrant Bear, and the world's greatest swordsman, Mahawk. But looking at the 2 empty seats, Zhang Guo suddenly frowned, looked at his deputy and asked, "What's going on? Isn't that Blackbeard guy here yet?" "Forget it, Jinbei. That guy, who refused to take action against Whitebeard, has been imprisoned by them in Impel Down City. But Blackbeard, this guy has just taken office, why is he still late? Logically speaking, this guy should be the first to arrive." But soon, with Magellan taking action, Luffy and others were suppressed without any suspense. Push this side of the city. But the more Magellan listened, the uglier his face became. Magellan, who had successfully sent Ace off, suddenly turned gloomy after watching the warship leave. After all, in his opinion, with such poison in his eyes, Luffy wouldn't be able to survive even if he ran away. Go and contact Teach Blackbeard and ask him why he hasn't arrived yet. In this way, it is virtually equivalent to removing a powerful enemy for Blackbeard. And he also brought Ivankov of the Revolutionary Army with him. Who knew that before Ace escorted him, Straw Hat Luffy sneaked into Impel Down City through some unknown means and caused a riot? There was not much time, so Magellan had no choice but to escort Ace first. At this time, a jailer was in front of him, reporting on the situation inside the city. Even if Blackbeard doesn't come, it won't have any impact on the battle situation. It was later suppressed by him and Aokiji, and I thought it would be calm next. Warring States was silent. Blackbeard's strange failure to arrive in advance made him vaguely uneasy. So this guy shouldn't have come over early to support and help, right? But then, after hearing that Ghost Spider had successfully received ace from Magellan and rushed to Malinfondo, he suppressed his uneasiness. Because of them, Marine has to deal with Whitebeard, which is definitely great news for Blackbeard. Veins appeared on Magellan's forehead. This time, he will completely suppress all turmoil in Push City. Blackbeard of the 7 Warlords of the Sea also came here with his men, and he directly attacked our people. What Magellan didn't expect was that Luffy, who had been poisoned, suddenly disappeared again. The first is Kaido's attempt to escape from prison. After coming back to his senses, Magellan flew out covered in venom. The most important thing now is to deal with Whitebeard. What kind of playing is he doing? Now that Ace is gone, it's time for me to clean up this place and let these guys understand who is the real boss here. Warring States frowned and suddenly gave instructions to his deputy. But what the Warring States period didn't know was. But what I never expected was that Luffy appeared again, and he was not dead yet. He brought more people to the 6th floor. What? The disappeared Straw Hat Luffy appears again. He's on the 6th floor now. Yes. Where has this gone? Impel Down seems to have been restless ever since Ace News was released. The deputy responded and immediately ran to make contact. And the new Blackbeard of the 7 Warlords of the Sea is actually attacking the people they're pushing into the city. Chapter 217. Pirates hire a group of pirates, and the war begins. The Country of Peace. In the Ghost Island, all irrelevant personnel have been eliminated. The rest are almost all famous and strong men. They are, the 3 calamities of the Beast's pirates, Jin, Quinn, and Jack. Fei Liubao, Foz Fu, Black Maria. In addition, there are Inu Arashi, Neko Viper, Koamatsu, Asura, and Denjiro. These are the 9 red scabbards who were persuaded by Rihei to join Yang Hao. There are 9 heroes in the 9 heroes. In addition to the 5 Inuarashi, there are 4 others who are still traveling in time and will not appear until 2 years later. Then Yamato, Enel. There is also Katakuri and others from the Big Mom Pirates. The 4 generals and several powerful ministers are all here. But at this moment, the eyes of these powerful men all fell uniformly on the figure sitting upright on the high platform in front of them. This figure is undoubtedly Yang Hao. At this time, Yang Hao was holding his chin, sitting lazily on his seat under Baby Five's clothes. But after he glanced at the powerful men, a smile gradually appeared on his face. Unknowingly, I already have so many strong men under my command? Yang Hao felt a little emotional. The war has begun, so he naturally has to recruit people to help Whitebeard. But this time, he did not intend to let the lower-level combat power go into battle, but only brought the high-level combat power. After all, he was just there to help, not really starting a war, so there was no need to risk all of Lao Di. Bringing all the high-level combat power is already very impressive. Yang Hao didn't feel much before, but now that he has gathered the high-level combat power of his men, he feels emotional. The strong men here can be roughly divided into 3 groups. Every unit and any 4 emperors obtained can form a powerful 4 emperors group. But now, he has 3 such troops. With such fighting power, if we only compare it as a group, he is definitely the strongest among the 4 emperors. Such a group is probably a heavenly group in the world of pirate employment. So he wants Whitebeard to have 5 billion, which is actually not too much. Certainly, it is impossible for Yang Hao to use all his combat power to help Whitebeard. He still has to go to Malinfondo to grab a wave and gain huge benefits for himself first. So when the time comes, he will divide half of these combat forces and put them into the battlefield, while he will lead half of the combat forces to Marinevondo first. There is no doubt that the addition of half of the combat power will definitely draw Marine's combat power on the battlefield to a greater extent. In this way, his robbery of Marine Fando will be smoother. Thinking of this, Yang Hao no longer hesitated and began to deploy. First, he chose to follow him to rob Malinfondo's combat power. Jin, Enel, Fozif. He actively selected people who could fly, run, and have strong maneuverability. This purpose is naturally for better movement and escape. After arranging these, Yang Hao took Jin and others, and with the help of Bree's mirror fruit ability, began long-distance teleportation and quickly headed to Malinfondo. Before that, he had naturally asked Bree to build a mirror world passage to Malinfondo quickly. So at this time, they only need to take a specific road to quickly go to the nearest location in Malinfondo. On the way, Yang Hao was not idle and briefly talked about his combat purpose. No one else had any objections. After all, Yang Hao was the boss. Only Jin heard this and asked with some confusion, "Yang Hao, when are we going to rescue the governor?" According to Yang Hao's arrangement, they stayed in Malinfondo from beginning to end. But if we don't go to Impel Down, how can we save Kaido? When Yang Hao heard this, he immediately smiled. "Don't worry, as long as we make more noise in Marineland, it will be easier for Boss Kaido to escape." After hearing this, Jin was still a little confused. But seeing Yang Hao's confident look, he stopped asking any more questions. In fact, What Jin didn't know was that Yang Hao had no intention of saving Kaido from beginning to end. But what Yang Hao said to him now was not to deceive him. All because Yang Hao knew that Kaido really escaped from behind. There is no doubt that Yang Hao cannot be unprepared for this war on the top. And the biggest preparation he made was not to arrange the affairs of Wano and summon strong men. Instead, he had already simulated a top-level war in advance. That's right. This time, Yang Hao has simulated the battle on the top in advance. Although he is very confident in his own strength, he naturally cannot really think that it is foolproof. I saw the sea water surging, and amid the violent turbulence of the seawater, a huge sailing ship that looked like a whale, wrapped in an equally huge bubble film, emerged from the seabed. The bubble wrap shattered, and the ship inside was completely revealed. Ever since, in the simulation, he discovered that Kaido had escaped. All because not long after Marine was put on full alert, unusual movement suddenly appeared in the bay in front of Marine headquarters. Warring states frowned inside, and this is why Yang Hao said that the more noise they make in Marineland, the easier it will be for Kaido to escape. Unparalleled momentum and unparalleled domineering power. And just when Yang Hao rushed to Malinfondo, it is the main ship of the Whitebeard pirates, the Moby DK. What an unexpected way to appear. The strongest man in the world is here. The figure had a white beard like a crescent moon and held a huge moon sword. He really didn't deceive Jin. Later, Kaido ran directly to the top of the battlefield. Garp's face darkened. But later, it is naturally impossible for Kaido to return to the Beast Pirates and become his governor again. Luffy still made a big fuss and impelled down just like in the original work. The reason why Kaido escaped was probably because of Luffy. Besides Whitebeard, who else? Bang. But when the war began, almost all of Marine's high-level combat power was gathered here, so naturally the Impel City side couldn't be taken care of. A huge shadow suddenly appeared on the calm sea surface. Then, the seawater surged violently, and a huge thing rose from the bottom of the sea. People from all over the world who saw the live broadcast also had expressions on their faces. What? The war on top has completely begun. There is no doubt that if there is enough combat power in Impel Down City, Kaido will not be able to escape. Boom. Everyone's eyes subconsciously fell on the huge figure on the bow of the ship. The three marine generals raised their eyebrows. If he finally gets too big and the big boss IM comes to destroy everything, that will be troublesome. Everyone was shocked. So before the war on the top began, Yang Hao simulated it in advance, and more than once. At this moment, Chapter 218, Fighting from Above leads to great turmoil in the city. The world's strongest man is coming. Seeing Whitebeard appear, all the marines at the scene felt nervous. Even the 7 warlords of the sea who came to help him had expressions of concentration on their faces. On the execution platform in the back, Ace's eyes widened. The atmosphere at the scene suddenly became stagnant. Even across the screen, people from all over the world felt the stagnant atmosphere at the scene. This is the intimidating power of the strongest man in the world. At the same time, outside Marinefondo harbor, pirate ships wrapped in bubbles sprouted from the bottom of the sea like bamboo shoots after rain. It's the pirate groups under the Whitebeard pirates. 1, 2, 3, 4. All are here. War preparation. Everyone, get ready. 100,000 marines were quickly mobilized. Even though the way Whitebeard appeared was a big surprise, Sengoku still made arrangements in an orderly manner. At this moment, Whitebeard stood on the bow of the Moby DK, looking down on an army of 100,000 people, and laughed heroically. Gula la la la, Warring States period, you didn't abuse my child. Warring States looked at Whitebeard with a solemn expression. At this moment, Ace on the execution platform suddenly shouted. Dad. Whitebeard followed the sound and looked at Ace, smiling. Ace, I'm here to take you back. Upon hearing this, Ace was immediately shocked. Of course he knew that Whitebeard would not ignore him. But now, seeing the other party really appear in Marineland, I am still extremely moved. His nose became sore and his tone became choked. Dad, you shouldn't have come. It's my fault. I shouldn't have disobeyed you, if I hadn't gone out of my way to find Teach. The current situation is entirely my own fault. Ace felt extremely guilty. He knew that it was his fault that led to the current situation. With Marine's lineup, once a war begins, even if the Whitebeard pirates can defeat them, they will definitely suffer heavy casualties. And this is the best result. If the situation is worse, it is not surprising that the Whitebeard pirates may even be destroyed here. When he thought of this, Ace felt ashamed. He can accept the result of death, but he cannot accept that Whitebeard and others encountered such a predicament because of him. Faced with Ace's guilt, Whitebeard grinned. Is there any? Marco. Whitebeard suddenly asked Marco, who was walking next to him. I gave Ace the order to capture Teach, right? Yes, I was also present at that time, Marco said with a smile. Ace was stunned for a moment. Whitebeard's heroic voice continued to sound. Did you hear that, Ace? I gave you an order, so you don't need to blame yourself. At this point, Whitebeard's voice spoke up. As we all know, in this sea, anyone who touches our Whitebeard pirates will only end up with one fate. That is, we will be completely destroyed. Marine, are you ready? Upon hearing this, Ace was moved beyond words. Warring State's expression suddenly hardened. The solemn atmosphere completely enveloped the hearts of every Marine present. On the Moby DK, Marco suddenly whispered in Whitebeard's ear, "Dad, that guy Yang Hao hasn't arrived yet. Do you want to wait a moment?" Saying this, a trace of worry flashed across Marco's face. Although Whitebeard is extremely domineering now, in fact, before appearing, Whitebeard was still covered with hanging bottles. And even though now their main ship broke into the bay, catching Marines' formation by surprise. But there is still a big gap in strength between the two sides. No matter whether it is low-level combat power or high-level combat power, there is no advantage. This situation is obviously not good, so Marco hoped that Whitebeard would delay for a while and wait for Yang Hao to arrive. No need to wait, Whitebeard shook his head. If he wants to come, he will come naturally. Although he invited Yang Hao to help him, he didn't think that Yang Hao would really take action seriously. The biggest possibility is probably just like 7 warlords of the sea, just scratching the surface and getting a sense of presence. So from beginning to end, Whitebeard didn't have much hope for Yang Hao. The other party hasn't appeared yet, so he naturally doesn't want to wait any longer. The most important thing is that Whitebeard knows that warring states will not let them delay like this. If there is no action now, the opponent's formation will be completely transformed. At that time, the many pirate groups in the Outer Bay will be the first to suffer a heavy blow. Moreover, as time goes on, the advantage of their main ship breaking into the Inner Bay will be greatly reduced. So Whitebeard made a prompt decision and decided to attack. As soon as he finished speaking, Whitebeard suddenly pushed Kong Yunki in his hand to the side. Bang! He clenched his fists tightly and suddenly punched the air next to him. At that moment, 2 shock waves visible to the naked eye suddenly rose above Whitebeard's fists. 2 booms. The next second, the space shook violently. The space in front of Whitebeard actually showed signs of cracking. Standing on the Marine platform, Sengoku's pupils suddenly shrank. The expressions of the Marines also changed greatly. People all over the world were even more horrified. The strongest man in the world takes action. This move is a sign that the world will collapse. As soon as the loud noise stopped, the surrounding sea suddenly started to fluctuate. Boom 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 boom. The sound of the waves, one after another, is stronger than the last. The Marines stared with wide eyes. What is that? What happened to the sea? Hiss, everyone was amazed. When it reaches its peak, most people gasp. A shocking scene appeared. I saw the sea surface in front of Marinevando fluctuating violently. The waves were one after another, and soon they reached an astonishing height, sweeping towards Malinfondo. Tsunami. Whitebeard actually created a tsunami. That man exerted the power to destroy the world. Countless people at the scene exclaimed. A tsunami hundreds of meters high, with the momentum of destroying everything, rolled towards Malinfondo. If you let it fall successfully, you can imagine the consequences. By then, Marines' equipment, layout, and personnel at the front will all be destroyed and suffer heavy damage. But at this moment, a figure suddenly shot out from the general's high platform. Ice Age. It's Aokiji. At the critical moment, the Marine general took action without hesitation. He shouted low and pressed his hands forward. 2 icicles suddenly burst out and disappeared into the tsunami. Then an incredible scene unfolded. Kaka. Starting from the icicle, a blue light suddenly spread. The huge tsunami was frozen in an instant. Even the main ship of the Whitebeard pirates, the Modibeak, was frozen on the sea surface. A huge and ferocious iceberg appeared on the spot. It was extremely spectacular. Seeing this scene, Whitebeard was not surprised. He just picked up Kong Yunki and raised it forward. Come on, little ones. Destroy Marine. In an instant, a large number of pirates jumped from the main ship and launched a charge. On Marine Fando's side, Marine Taxi also calmed down a little, and then, led by various generals, stepped onto the ice to fight. Go to the battlefield and engage in a thorough battle. And just as the war started here, there was an even greater turmoil on the Impel City side. Chapter 219 The Bosses of Eternal Hell. Impel Down City, 6th floor, Eternal Hell. Ha 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 ha. Blackbeard's laughter resounded in hell. The situation here in Impel Down City, because nothing unexpected happened, ended up being the same as in the original work. Blackbeard's group, with the help of Shiryu of the Rain, came back from the dead, passed by Luffy and others, and successfully entered the 6th floor. Here, Blackbeard is still the same as before, causing a mass killing. The one who survives to the end can become his partner and be rescued by him from Impel Down to destroy Whitebeard. Such conditions were very bloody, but they aroused the interest of the prisoners in Eternal Hell. Ever since, this place has completely turned into hell. Blood, massacre, destruction. Seeing this situation, Blackbeard felt like drinking nectar, and his face was full of intoxication. His plan has been half successful. The next step is to go to the battlefield to show off his skills and completely seize Whitebeard's power to shake the fruit. Kill. Hey, come out quickly. What's going on with this guy? Blackbeard led Badgers and others, constantly walking over and releasing the prisoners one by one. These prisoners didn't say anything and rushed out immediately to join the fight. But at this moment, when they opened a cell, the prisoners inside did not run out, but were minding their own business inside doing push-ups to exercise. Hearing this, Blackbeard looked suspiciously. Just at this moment, the giant man with his naked upper body lifted up, revealing a cool and unruly face. This guy is still alive. A touch of cold sweat suddenly appeared on Blackbeard's forehead. Badgers was about to reprimand, but Blackbeard quickly stopped him. Forget it, don't worry about him. Blackbeard's tone was full of fear. All because this giant man is none other than Devilish Bullet. That man, known as the descendant of the devil. If Rayleigh is the right hand of One Piece, then he is the left hand of One Piece. Blackbeard was also very surprised that Bullet appeared here. You know, since Roger was captured, many famous pirates in the past have disappeared. Such as Rayleigh, such as the Golden Lion, and such as Bullet. But now it seems that Bullet, like the Golden Lion, was captured and imprisoned in the city. It's just that the Golden Lion escaped early. As for Bullet, he has probably been locked up here. However, seeing the state of the opponent's muscles exploding, Blackbeard immediately understood that even if he had been imprisoned for so long, Bullet probably had not given up on training. What a terrifying man like a devil. There is no doubt that someone like Bullet is definitely the powerful partner he is looking for. However, as soon as this thought came to Blackbeard's mind, he suppressed it. He does want to find a strong partner, but only if the other party cannot pose a threat to him. Bullet is simply too strong. Even if he succeeds in seizing the shock fruit ability later on, he still doesn't have much confidence that he can suppress his opponent steadily. It would be troublesome if the other party turned away from the customer. As a result, Blackbeard took Badgers and others beyond the Bullet and continued to go deeper. Speaking of which, the prisoners in Eternal Hell are all extremely vicious criminals. But in fact, there are still relatively few things that can scare Blackbeard and others. This is all because most of the criminals imprisoned in the 6th floor have bounties of hundreds of millions or more than a billion. That kind of billions is still very rare. Bullet is one. But soon, Blackbeard and others encountered a second one. Seeing the old figure walking out of the cell with some grace, Blackbeard couldn't help but shrink his pupils. This old guy isn't even dead. The old figure who appeared in his sight, with wrinkles all over his face, must be over 80 years old. But the prison uniform is very clean, and there is a hint of nobility in his temperament. Who is this? Badgers asked curiously. After what happened with Bullet just now, he didn't dare to be so arrogant. After all, Blackbeard had quietly introduced Bullet to him just now. Only then did Badgers understand why Blackbeard ignored Bullet. Because if Bullet really takes action, not only will other prisoners be tortured and killed, but even them may be in big trouble. But now, Blackbeard once again showed a fearful look. It was obvious that the old man in front of him was not a good person either. It seemed to confirm Badger's thoughts. After the old man walked out, he walked out leisurely. When the criminals along the way saw him, they all moved away with expressions of fear or awe. This man is Beloric Redfield, Aloof Red. Has he been released too? The prisoners were talking in low voices and retreating 3 feet away. Blackbeard also introduced Badgers and others in a low voice. Badgers and others all looked shocked. The reason why Kaido appears here is naturally because the ice he was sealed in was shattered and melted by the fighting. At this moment, Kaido looked at Blackbeard, his eyes flashing fiercely. Except for Bullet, Beloric Redfield and a very few pirates who left on their own, there were only 5 pirates left on the scene. Rogers and others also said they turned a blind eye. Open black lens bracket big wine close black lens bracket Basque showed, but when he saw the last person, Blackbeard's expression changed drastically again. But the opponent is very powerful, and only one person can defeat the Roger pirates and the Whitebeard pirates at the same time. These people didn't want to argue with him. Otherwise, whether they could successfully leave Impel Down City was a matter of 2 people. He suddenly realized that he had underestimated the value of the prisoners on the 6th floor of Impel Down City. In other words, this is the ancient true god. They naturally knew about Kaido's imprisonment. Next, Blackbeard became cautious. Hey, let's make an agreement first. Whitebeard's head will be taken by Lousy. Because he should be able to suppress these guys, and there won't be any problems even if they become partners. Badgers and others also looked horrified. Open black lens bracket Schwenue Hunter close black lens bracket Catlin Demai. Open black lens bracket Huge Battleship close black lens bracket San Juan Wolf. Fortunately, this is the great pirate who lived at the same time as Roger and Whitebeard. But later, he also learned about the reason for the killing of prisoners, but he did not stop. Instead, like the evil king and others, he continued to fight until the end. The moment he escaped from the trap, Kaido was so angry that he joined in the killing without saying a word. 100 beasts. Kaido, after half an hour of fighting. 4 of them will join the Blackbeard pirates in the original work. Fortunately, the other prisoners seemed to agree with his statement and all joined in the killing feast. Forget about the previous Bullet, now there is Beloric Redfield. Blackbeard wiped a cold sweat, but now that they saw him in person, they couldn't help but be shocked. But something unexpected happened to the last one. Open black lens bracket the king of evil close black lens bracket Avaro Pizarro. When Beloric Redfield silently walked through the crowd and disappeared, the prisoners around him started fighting again. Hearing this, Blackbeard and the others looked at each other in confusion. Two horns soared into the sky, the body was huge, full of ferocious aura, and it held a blood-soaked mace in its hand. That's all. Blackbeard was still able to keep smiling when he saw the King of Evil and others. Chapter 220. The world's best slashing attack. The ape descends from the sky. On top of the battlefield, the tsunami launched by Whitebeard was blocked by Aokiji using his freezing ability. A large glacier appeared in front of Malinfondo. The sea there even turned into ice. But in this way, it also created a foothold for the Whitebeard pirates to easily attack. Whitebeard gave the order, and countless pirates jumped off the pirate ship and attacked Marinefondo. The nearby marine immediately stepped forward to fight under Sengoku's orders. The war on top has completely begun. However, taking this opportunity, Sengoku began to announce Ace's identity. Everyone, there is one thing I want to tell you, and that is about the true identity of this Fire Fist Ace. Upon hearing this, Ace was startled at first, and then his expression changed drastically. Whitebeard frowned. Marco and others also had expressions on their faces. 7 warlords of the sea and others couldn't help but look at warring states. What does this mean? Garp's face darkened and he clenched his fists involuntarily. The 3 generals, Aokiji, Kizaru, and Akainu, had expressionless faces and didn't seem surprised. Sengoku glanced at Garp and continued. Fire Fist Ace, his name is Portgas D. Ace. But this is his mother's surname, and his real name is Gold D. Ace. Yes, he is One Piece, the bloodline left by Gold D. Roger in the world. As soon as this statement came out, everyone in the audience was shocked. People all over the world were also stunned. One Piece's son. How is that possible? Didn't you say that Roger has no descendants? The most evil bloodline in the world is still alive. Oh my god, Fire Fist Ace is One Piece Roger's son. People were stunned. Even the pirate supernovas were shocked. On the battlefield above, after a brief silence, a strong noise also rose. Even the marines and pirates who were already engaged in battle in front suddenly lost their minds. Fire Fist Ace is actually the son of One Piece Roger. This news is really shocking. However, in response, Ace roared. No, my father is Whitebeard. However, Warring States said to himself. After Fire Fist Ace debuted, we were already aware of his innate terrifying aptitude. Unfortunately, by the time we were about to take action against him, he had already become a member of the Whitebeard Pirates and was protected by Whitebeard. But now, no matter what, we must eliminate the most evil bloodline in the world here. To this end, we will not hesitate to go to war with the Whitebeard Pirates. And this is the purpose of this public execution. After Warring States finished speaking, the battlefield suddenly became noisy again. Everyone was shocked. In particular, Skuyard, the captain of the Great Maelstrom Spider Pirates, is leading his men to support the Whitebeard Pirates. When he learned that Ace was the son of One Piece Roger, he was stunned and even forgot to move forward. At the front of the battlefield, Whitebeard's expression suddenly turned gloomy. Sensing Whitebeard's displeasure, Josie jumped off the ship and launched a fierce attack. Ah! With a bang, he hit the ice with his fist, and with a roar, he lifted up a small mountain-like ice cube. The next second, Josie exploded with brute strength, and the small mountain of ice was thrown directly towards the marine platform. Captain Josie, hiss, you are indeed Captain Josie. Yes, just smash him like this, rescue Ace, the pirates shouted excitedly. The marines were shocked. A large number of marines avoided it out of fear. But on the high platform, a figure stood up calmly. We are here, and we won't let this place be destroyed so easily. Gululu. A large amount of magma suddenly surged from the figure's body, converging towards its right hand. Big fire. There is no doubt that it is Akainu, one of the 3 marine generals. Akainu suddenly made a false strike with his right hand, and the condensed magma rolled up and turned into a huge lava fist, which hit the hill like ice. In an instant, the ice exploded and dissolved, and the remaining magma fell straight down, with a power comparable to that of a cannonball. Affected by the aftermath, many pirates screamed. Whitebeard frowned. It's really an exaggeration to set fire, Magma Kid. After the words fell, Whitebeard gently raised Kong Yunki, directly stabbing a ball of magma. As he exhaled suddenly, the magma was immediately extinguished. Akainu stood on the high platform, looked at Whitebeard, and grinned. Why, Whitebeard, don't you like luxurious funerals? Upon hearing this, Whitebeard's face suddenly turned cold. At the same time, behind Akainu, Kizaru, who was clocking into work, couldn't sit still as he watched his 2 colleagues take action one after another. What a terrifying momentum, Whitebeard! As soon as the words fell, Kizaru turned into a point of light and disappeared on the high platform. The next second, the light on Whitebeard's head condensed, and in the dazzling light, Kizaru's figure gradually condensed. It's so dazzling, Whitebeard narrowed his eyes. Kizaru's figure was completely condensed, and he was about to use the light speed kick. But at this moment, a figure with blue flames came over quickly and kicked Kizaru first. How is it possible for you to get close to our king so easily? Drink. Kizaru blocked with his right hand, but in the end it turned into a laser and flew out heavily. There was a boom. A city wall was blasted, and Kizaru succeeded in fishing. At this moment, an ice spear shot towards Whitebeard with a strong icy aura. Marco hadn't landed yet and it was too late to resist. But at the critical moment, another figure came over and the foil sword burst out. Bang! The ice spear was cut through. It was the foil sword Bister. The three Marine generals took action one after another, but they still did not attract Whitebeard to take action. However, Marco, Josie and other captains also took action. The battle situation further intensified. At this moment, something happened again on the Marine platform. At the location of 7 warlords of the sea, someone stood up and walked forward slowly. Doflamingo, Moonlight Moria and others were suddenly startled, and then they all showed surprise. But the problem is, these 7 warlords of the sea should be here for paddling. The slashing attack performed by the world's greatest swordsman suddenly stagnated. A figure appeared in the air. After the words fell, Hawkeye suddenly waved the world's #1 black sword Yi, releasing an earth-shattering slash. At this moment, the whole place fell into silence. This guy is going to take action. Covered in golden hair, with a brown face and bulging muscles, it turned out to be a 3-meter-tall ape with a ferocious face and extremely ferocious ape. The ape retracted his fist and grinned at Whitebeard. The blue light all over the skies suddenly disappeared. The Saiyan slash dyed the sky, wrapped in extremely sharp terrifying waves, and swept towards Whitebeard standing on the Moby DK. Buzz. Logically speaking, now that the war has begun, they, the 7 warlords of the sea, should also take action. There was an earth-shattering sound. Then the huge green light burst into pieces in the shocked eyes of everyone. When Eagle Eye heard this, he paused and said without looking back, "I just want to see the distance between me and that man." But at this moment, a figure was faster than him, suddenly falling from the sky and landing in front of the green light. Chowzi, who was closer, shrank his pupils when he saw this, and was about to stand up to resist. With the eagle-eyed look, it was obvious that he was not joking. After all, no matter which side wins this war, it will be detrimental to them. But I never expected that the first one to take action would be Mahawk, the coldest among them. Wherever they passed along the way, not only was the air cut open, but even the extremely hard ice surface cracked automatically. "Whitebeard, I'm not late, am I?" Doflamingo couldn't help but ask, "Eagle Eye, are you serious?" Noticing this scene, most people were shocked. As he walked forward, he drew the world's best black knife from behind. Even people from all over the world watched intently. Boom! The 7 warlords of the sea stood up. It was Mahawk, the world's greatest swordsman. So the best thing they can do is to paddle without helping each other. The air vibrated. This situation completely attracted the attention of everyone present. But now it seems that Hawkeye doesn't want to paddle, but can't wait to join the battle. That's right. Chapter 221, the huge combat power that dominates the battle. This moment, when the ape's figure was revealed, the whole place fell into silence. Whitebeard was startled, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. In comparison, Warring State's pupils shrank and his face became extremely ugly. The next second, a huge noise erupted from the scene. That person is Yang Hao. It's absolutely right, it's him. Who else but him can block the strike of the world's greatest swordsman? Hiss, this man is here too. The Marines were shocked. The Whitebeard pirates and others were refreshed. People all over the world were in an uproar. Disastrous Yang Hao. The man who killed Big Mom, the current top leader of the Beast Pirates. Oh my god, why did Yang Hao come to join the battle? He said hello to Whitebeard. Did he come to help Whitebeard? If this continues, Marine will really be wiped out. The world shook. Top the scene. The 3 Marine generals, Akainu, Aokiji, and Kizaru, all frowned. 7 warlords of the sea. When Hawkeye saw that the slash was blocked, he couldn't help but narrowed his sharp eyes. Moonlight Moria grinned. Is that man the guy who replaced Kaido? Saying this, Moonlight Moria glanced at Doflamingo aside. Doflamingo, who had been smiling easily before, suddenly stood up from his seat with a serious look on his face. Yang Hao. Doflamingo murmured, his expression becoming complicated. In fact, until now, he still feels unbelievable about Yang Hao's record. So much so that now that he saw Yang Hao himself again, he still had a strong sense of unreality. The expressions of Tyrant Bear and Pirate Empress did not change much. At this time, Whitebeard's rich voice sounded on the field. "Boy, if you don't come back, Lousy will destroy Marine." Whitebeard still couldn't put Yang Hao, who was so young, in a conversation with him. But his tone was inexplicably relaxed. After all, they were obviously at a disadvantage in the battle just now. Although Marco and others barely blocked the generals, with Hawkeye and other 7 warlords of the sea taking action, the situation was bound to be broken. Although he could take action personally, it would be too early. If he were to fight against the 3 Marine generals in person, Sengoku and Garp, who were watching from the sidelines, would become their biggest threat. There is no doubt that even if he can defeat the 3 generals by then, he will not be able to deal with Sengoku and Garp. How could Whitebeard not understand the difference in top combat power between the two sides? It's just that he always fights hard, but one can imagine how much pressure he was under. But now, Yang Hao's arrival has undoubtedly relieved a lot of his pressure. In contrast, Whitebeard smiled under the pressure. As the commander of Marine, Sengoku naturally felt a lot of pressure. He frowned and looked at Yang Hao, and asked in a loud voice, Yang Hao, why do you want to interfere in this war? The pressure of the warring states period has indeed increased. Originally, when dealing with a Whitebeard, they were cautious and made various battle plans. But now, the appearance of Yang Hao has undoubtedly greatly disrupted their arrangements, making warring states feel caught off guard. It's not that they're scared, it's just that in this way, even if Marine can defeat them in the end, they will definitely pay a heavy price. At the same time, the warring states period was also very puzzled by Yang Hao's participation in the war. The current Yang Hao is almost certain to become the new four emperors. Whether the Whitebeard pirates were damaged or Marine suffered heavy casualties, isn't this a good thing for him? Why should you end up being a fisherman without reaping the benefits? When Yang Hao heard this, he immediately spread his hands. I can't help it, this old man gave me too much. As he spoke, he motioned to Whitebeard. Whitebeard's face twitched. Sengoku frowned even more tightly. From this point of view, some kind of deal should have been reached between Whitebeard and Yang Hao. Realizing this, Warring States was suddenly surprised. I never thought that such a proud Whitebeard would actually ask for foreign aid. However, what he didn't know was that this was not Whitebeard's request for foreign aid, but Yang Hao's own recommendation. Of course, no matter what, it is inevitable for Yang Hao and Whitebeard to join forces. The cooperation between them may not be something he can leverage with just a few words now. Ever since, Warring States suddenly cast a veiled gaze in a certain direction. The next second, the ice surface around Yang Hao protruded, and a cold figure suddenly appeared. It's Aokiji. Aokiji appeared silently and immediately sent a frost hug to Yang Hao. Kaka. Yang Hao seemed to be unprepared, and was instantly frozen into a lifelike ice sculpture of an ape. Almost at the same time, in a flash of light, Kizaru, who had just been kicked away by Marco, flashed over in an instant. Speed is power, light speed kick, there was a bang and a strong laser flash. The ice sculpture that Yang Hao transformed into was instantly kicked to pieces by Kizaru. All this sounds complicated, but in fact it only happens in an instant. The Warring States period made a decisive decision and decided to deal with Yang Hao immediately. So Aokiji and Kizaru understood and directly joined forces to launch a decisive attack. Seeing this, Whitebeard couldn't help but shrink his pupils. Marco and others' expressions changed wildly. Yang Hao. The alliance between the two marine generals is no joke. Even Whitebeard can't say that he can resist it 100%. But now, Yang Hao has obviously been tricked. What to do now? Could it be that he was instantly killed? Damn it, is this guy careless? When Doflamingo saw this, he couldn't help but be stunned, and then the corners of his mouth raised, revealing a smile. Yang Hao has risen so quickly that he has even become his top boss now. This situation has always made him feel unreal, and he has always been brooding about it, so much so that he has become a little disgusted with Yang Hao's existence. It would be great if Yang Hao could die here. Others present were also shocked when they saw this scene. Just now, Yang Hao appeared on the stage and directly blocked the slash of the world's greatest swordsman. They were extremely shocked. But he never expected that in the blink of an eye, Yang Hao would be hit by Aokiji and Kizaru together. Will Yang Hao be killed instantly? This also seems possible. After all, he is too young and energetic, so he will suffer a big loss now. But just when most people were thinking this, Aokiji and Kizaru, who were joining forces to attack, shrank their pupils. The ice sculpture exploded and Yang Hao, safe and sound, appeared again. Kizaru's right foot was blocked by him with one hand. As for the freezing damage just now, there was no trace at all. Looking at the frightened two people, Yang Hao said with some dissatisfaction, Hey, you are bullying the minority with more people. If this is the case, then I won't be polite. Come out, little ones. As soon as the words fell, a scene that shocked the world appeared. A portal suddenly appeared next to Yang Hao's left ear. One after another figures walked out. Katakuri, Cracker, Smoothie, Snag. The generals and ministers of the Big Mom pirates. Also, Quinn, Jack, Fuzif. The three troubled and 6 sons of the Beast's pirates. In addition, there are also strong men with extraordinary auras who come out one after another. More than a dozen people gradually stood up beside Yang Hao, and waves of powerful aura merged together and swept out. At this moment, even the clouds and mists in the sky were cleared. Everyone was stunned when they saw this. There is no doubt that this is a huge combat force that can determine the outcome of the war. Chapter 222 Yang Hao's Deterrence, the wall plan is launched. This moment, everyone was stunned. The next second, a huge noise resounded throughout the world again. This is Katakuri, the first general of the Big Mom pirates. And Smoothie, Cracker, Quinn, Jack, the big sign of the Beast's pirates. The 3 disasters and 6 sons are here, oh my god. Yang Hao actually brought so many strong men here. These are high-level combat powers. People watching the live broadcast were all shocked and their eyes widened. Such a high-level combat lineup is much stronger than the average 4 emperors group. Everyone at the scene was also shocked. the Marines were all shocked. Even Aokiji and Kizaru seemed to have cold sweat on their foreheads. Warring State's face was extremely solemn. Originally, Yang Hao's appearance had already had a considerable impact on the battle situation. He also brought so much high-level combat power. At this moment, even Warring State's confidence was somewhat shaken. And in comparison, the Whitebeard pirates and others were extremely surprised. That's Katakuri, Quinn, all these guys came here with Yang Hao. Marco's face clearly lit up with joy. When Yang Hao and Whitebeard were discussing cooperation, he was right next to them. At that time, he thought that 5 billion Baileys was just for Yang Hao to take action alone. But what he never expected was that Yang Hao would bring so many people besides himself. Marco is very familiar with Katakuri and Quinn. The strength of these people is not much weaker, especially Katakuri, and he has no confidence in defeating them. There is no doubt that with the addition of this fighting force, their chances of successfully rescuing Ace will definitely become much greater. Realizing this, everyone in the Whitebeard pirates cheered. Even Whitebeard's face had a smile. I have to say that Yang Hao's move was really interesting. At this moment, Doflamingo's face darkened as he looked at Yang Hao surrounded by a group of powerful men. In his eyes, there flashed a strong look of apprehension, even fear. At this moment, his sense of unreality completely disappeared. Yang Hao has really become a big shot on par with 4 emperors. Hells, come on, assist the Whitebeard pirates and save Fire Fist Ace. As if to prove this, Yang Hao gave the order, and Katakuri and others immediately launched a strong attack. Huge fists of glutinous rice burst out. Biscuit soldiers emerged one by one. A series of cold light slashes flew up. Quinn, Jack and others all turned into terrifying beasts and swept across the battlefield. Facing the strong attack of these high-level combat forces, even Aokiji and Kizaru had to retreat temporarily. The Whitebeard pirates were in a bad situation just now, but it was reversed in an instant. The pirates began to advance towards the execution platform. The Marines began to retreat steadily. Big fire. At this moment, a low shout came. A huge fist of magma burst out, directly blocking the pirates' footsteps. It was Akainu. At this time, he saw that the situation was not good, and suddenly fell from the high platform and joined the battle group. Even beasts such as Quinn are greatly afraid of the hot magma. But at this moment, a figure advanced instead of retreating, and continued to move forward as if the magma was nothing. It's the baking minister of the Big Mom Pirates, Charlotte Owen. That person with the hot fruit ability. Soon, Marine recognized the identity of the figure. It is Charlotte Owen who possesses the power of the heat fruit. Others are afraid of Akainu's lava, but he is not. Holding a pair of hot fists, he knocked each Marine away. Aokiji ran over to fight, but couldn't suppress him for a while. Soon, Katakuri, who unleashed his awakening ability, also shined. The terrain was changed by him, the magma was sealed, and the ice surface formed steps. Even with the obstruction of the 3 Marine generals, the pirates are advancing at an unstoppable pace. Fortunately, at this time, Lieutenant General Marine and Major Generals also took action. With their actions, the pirates' forward speed was finally restrained. When Warring States saw this, he still frowned. A stalemate is not a situation he wants to see. Then he turned to 7 warlords of the sea and others and said, "It's time for you to take action, right?" After saying that, Warring States frowned again and did not look at Hawkeye in front of him. "Hawkeye, why don't you continue to do it?" Although the Whitebeard pirates suddenly gained a lot of high-level combat power, the 7 warlords of the sea can still save a lot of disadvantages if they take action. Especially Mihawk. But the world's greatest swordsman, since his attack was broken by Yang Hao, he stood there and watched. After hearing what Sengoku said, Hawkeye said unceremoniously, "Sengoku, I will cooperate with you. I only said that we would deal with the Whitebeard pirates together, but I did not say that we would also be enemies with the other 4 emperors." Hearing this, the other Shichibukai looked in agreement. Especially Doflamingo. His cooperation with the beast pirates has not yet ended, so Yang Hao is currently his immediate boss. If he were to fight against the Whitebeard pirates, that would be nothing. But if you want to take action against Yang Hao, you need to think carefully. Doflamingo is a very capable person. He knew that the Whitebeard pirates, which had dominated the New World for many years, were already on the decline. It was no exaggeration to say that they were at the end of their strength. But the current beasts pirates, especially the beasts pirates with the rise of Yang Hao, are not so easy to provoke. If they take action rashly, the price will be more than they can afford. Moonlight Mariah and Boya Hancock obviously had the same consideration, so their eyes flickered and they did not move. But Tyrant Bear stood up and joined the battle group. However, although his ability was magical, it did not improve the battle situation much for a while. After hearing what Hawkeye said, Warring States couldn't help but darken his face. He also began to intuitively feel Yang Hao's intimidation. When Yang Hao came to the battlefield, the impact he brought was definitely not as simple as a change in the number of people and combat power. As the new 4 emperors, he directly shocked the 7 warlords of the sea, and I believe that the morale of many Marines will be greatly damaged. Why did this B***** D get involved in this war? Warring States gritted his teeth secretly. He was too lazy to talk to Doflamingo and others. After all, if he continues to talk, the effect will not be great, but it will delay his command of the battle. Fortunately, they had long known that the 7 warlords of the sea were unreliable, so from the beginning, they did not rely too much on their combat power. In fact, for 7 warlords of the sea, they already have a replacement in marine. Thinking of this, warring states issued another order. Ever since, the next moment, the entire battlefield shook again. The pirates had just reached the square of Marinefondo when suddenly huge iron walls rose up around them. The wall plan is launched. As the iron wall rose, figures that were indistinguishable from the tyrant bear also walked out of Marine Fandoli under the leadership of Zon Momomaru. Needless to say, he is the pacifist studied by Marine. Upon seeing this, Akainu perked up and immediately cast Meteor Volcano, cooperating with the pacifists in besieging the wall. The pirates' advance was completely suppressed, and chaos ensued on the battlefield. Seeing this, the 7 warlords of the sea and others could no longer remain indifferent, and launched attacks one after another, but most of them were paddling. Doflamingo flicked his fingers and shot out bullet-like threads. But suddenly, his face froze. A golden-haired figure suddenly flashed in front of him. His face was ferocious, and his whole body exuded a ferocious aura. It's Yang Hao, haha, young master, long time no see. Hearing Yang Hao's greeting, Doflamingo couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. Chapter 223 Let Brother Ming help. The robbery begins. Haha, young master, long time no see. Seeing Yang Hao suddenly appearing in front of him, Doflamingo couldn't help but feel a shiver in his heart. Because of Yang Hao's appearance, Doflamingo's performance has actually been very low-key. He did not attack Little Oz, but released bullet-like threads to deal with some pirates and miscellaneous fish. Originally, Doflamingo was not serious about dealing with the Whitebeard pirates. After Yang Hao came, he became more and more afraid, so he completely skipped the boat. Because, naturally, I don't want to attract too much attention. But now, he is still noticed, and that person is the person he least wants to see, Yang Hao. Hearing the other party call him the same name as before, Doflamingo's eyes flashed with a hint of complexity under his sunglasses. But he's also very self-aware. Today's Yang Hao naturally cannot regard him as his young master. This title may just be a joke, it would be ridiculous if he took it seriously. Now you no longer need to call me young master, Yang Hao. Doflamingo said lightly and stopped. The surrounding pirates and marines saw this and subconsciously avoided the two of them. Yang Hao smiled and said, "No, I'd better call you young master. There is no need to be too distant from each other." Doflamingo was noncommittal. Of course it was indeed him who abandoned Yang Hao. But now that I think about it, Yang Hao seems to have no affection for their Don Quixote. I agreed on the price with the ant and ran away immediately. Then he jumped to Kaido. Doflamingo didn't even bother to talk about this profit-seeking approach. However, Yang Hao is no longer someone he can complain about. Moreover, Doflamingo does not reject the situation where Yang Hao deliberately cultivates relationships. To be honest, Doflamingo was actually worried that Yang Hao would come back to trouble him. After all, with Yang Hao's current status and power, it is not difficult to destroy the Don Quixote family. It's just that after the other party killed Big Mom, I don't know if he was busy dealing with the follow-up or if he really didn't mind what happened at that time, so he never contacted him. This made Doflamingo a little uneasy. Now that Yang Hao was deliberately building relationships, he was relieved. But what Doflamingo didn't know was this. In fact, in the simulation, Yang Hao had already destroyed the Don Quixote family once. And now he is deliberately trying to build a relationship. It's not that he doesn't mind Doflamingo's behavior of handing him over to his aunt at that time. It's just that right now, Yang Hao needs Doflamingo's help. Now that Yang Hao has arrived on the battlefield, the most important thing is of course not to help Whitebeard eliminate Marine and save Ace. The most important thing is his own interests. But now, after letting Katakuri and others come out to create a bigger melee situation, he was ready to implement the plan he had made before. Rob Malinfondo. To be more precise, it was a robbery of Marine headquarters. As the world's top armed force, Marine's military expenditure will definitely be an astronomical figure. However, it is not that easy to snatch the money from Marine headquarters. Sengoku and others are here. If there is any disturbance at Marine headquarters, they will definitely be able to react immediately and go to stop it. Therefore, if Yang Hao wants to snatch it more smoothly, he still needs to make some preparations. For example, don't let others tip off the information, don't allow people to approach easily, etc. Wanting to do this, the first thing Yang Hao thought of was Doflamingo's thread fruit ability. You know, Doflamingo has a very magical move called birdcage. This birdcage can not only cut off signals, but also form an extremely strong space. In such a space, even a marine general can withstand 1 or 2. With the help of birdcage, Yang Hao's success rate in snatching will naturally be greatly increased. This has also been verified by simulation. So as soon as the melee started, Yang Hao quietly approached Doflamingo and asked him for help. "Young master, we haven't seen each other for a long time. Would you like to accompany me to visit Marineland?" Yang Hao didn't waste too much time and quickly stated his request. Upon hearing this, Doflamingo was startled for a moment, then frowned and came to his senses. No wonder Yang Hao's attitude towards him was quite friendly. Did you actually ask for it from yourself? Doflamingo knew that when Yang Hao found him, it would definitely not be as simple as just walking around. There's a war going on right now, who's in the mood to hang out? So the only possibility is that Yang Hao needs him to do something. Thinking of this, Doflamingo subconsciously refused. With Yang Hao's current status and power, it would definitely not be a good thing to ask him for help. Absolutely, very dangerous. But then, a touch of bitterness appeared on Doflamingo's face. With Yang Hao's current overwhelming power, does he still have room to refuse? This is not a discussion, but a notification, Doflamingo thought for less than 2 seconds before nodding silently. Seeing that Doflamingo was so understanding, Yang Hao also smiled with satisfaction. Communicating with smart people saves your worries. Otherwise, he doesn't mind being here to teach the other party a lesson and let the other party understand why he killed the ant. Well, I have a space here. You go in first and come out later when I summon you. Yang Hao whispered to Doflamingo, and then deliberately created a puff of smoke to cover the surrounding area. Doflamingo was immediately surprised to see that the gold earring on Yang Hao's left ear turned into a portal again. He quickly remembered that this was the portal where Katakuri and others appeared just now. It seems that this thing allows Yang Hao to take other people with him. Doflamingo walked straight into it without hesitation. For a moment, the hustle and bustle of the battlefield left him. The environment Doflamingo was in suddenly became calm and comfortable. He was surprised to find that behind the door was a comfortable and spacious residence. The place he came to at this time was a hall, where several people were sitting, drinking tea leisurely. He didn't know much about the other people, but the man wearing black clothes, with black wings and a mask made Doflamingo's pupils shrink. Ember? Yes, this man is none other than Yan Liangjin. As mentioned before, Yang Hao did not release Jin and other highly mobile people, but planned to take them to rob them. Speaking of which, Doflamingo can also fly, which is just right. Yang Hao from the outside put away his castle earrings and raised the corner of his mouth. Now with the help of Doflamingo, everything is ready. Now all we need to do is head to Marineland, but it's not good to go directly. With his status, too many people are paying attention. If you go there rashly, you may be blocked by General Marine. From this point of view, he still needs a proper reason. Ever since. A moment later, Yang Hao was kicked away by Kizaru. And the direction in which he was kicked was none other than Malinfondo. The person was in midair, and the corners of Yang Hao's mouth rose. The robbery operation has officially begun. Chapter 224. The birdcage opens, isolating Marine headquarters. Boom. On top of the battlefield. Noticing that Yang Hao was kicked away, Whitebeard couldn't help but frown. At the same time, Kizaru, as the person involved, was also very surprised. Just as he was beating, Yang Hao came to his side. Originally, when Katakuri and others appeared, he was a little busy dealing with it. After all, Katakuri and others are not pirate supernovas. These are domineering and strong men, not so easy to deal with. Moreover, he also has to control the rhythm of his attacks, which makes it much more difficult to deal with them. What he didn't expect was that suddenly, Yang Hao came to him. Kizaru couldn't ignore it, so he released another light speed kick. However, what he never expected was that Yang Hao was frozen by Aokiji just now and could block his light speed kick. But this time, he was kicked away by him at the speed of light. What is going on? Kizaru was stunned. Warring States looked at him with admiration, thinking that Kizaru was working seriously. Let's talk about Yang Hao. After being kicked away, a smile showed on his lips that his plan had succeeded. The direction in which he was kicked was none other than Malinfondo. Boom boom boom. In an instant, Yang Hao crashed into a large number of buildings and crashed into Marine Fando. At the back, Kizaru's strength was exhausted, and he even used Wukong Jutsu to accelerate himself. Ever since, when Yang Hao stopped, he was already deep in Malinfondo. Not far away is the huge and majestic building of Marine headquarters. His goal was obviously achieved. It is logical to go deep into Malinfondo. Later, if he disappears for too long, Sengoku may react and send General Marine to check. But as long as they don't chase you now, that's fine. After a while, even if Warring States and others reacted, it would be too late. Thinking of this, Yang Hao smiled and patted the dust on his body, revealing his safe and sound body. It is worth mentioning that in current reality, we are already in a period of war. The billions Yang Hao had gotten from his aunt had almost been spent. After investing so much money, his physique has naturally improved to a higher level. And not only his lightning resistance, but now he even has fire resistance and ice resistance. In addition, armed color hockey has also gone a step further and mastered the technique of external release. After several factors, Yang Hao's defense naturally became stronger again. And this is why he was able to withstand attacks from Aokiji and Kizaru one after another in his normal ape form without getting hurt. Now his defense is definitely comparable to Kaido. With such a defensive power, even if Yang Hao goes on a rampage, he can actually plunder the Marine headquarters. It's just that he is still cautious and does not make any mistakes. Opening his eyes and ears, he didn't notice the powerful aura chasing him. He suddenly thought about it and opened the castle earrings. Come out, you guys. The castle portal appears again, and flying out first is Doflamingo. Then there are Jin, Enel, et al. At this time, Doflamingo's face became relieved. He was very glad that he had just agreed to Yang Hao's request. Otherwise, Jin alone could make him drink a pot. Enel and others were obviously not simple either, so he felt uncomfortable staying inside just now. Seeing the castle portal appear again, he hurriedly walked out. Yang Hao. Master Yang Hao. After Jin and others came out, they all saluted and greeted Yang Hao. Yang Hao nodded, turned to Doflamingo, and gave direct instructions. Young master, use your ability to open the birdcage here to isolate the marine headquarters from the battlefield. Hearing this, Doflamingo was startled, and then a look of shock appeared on his face. Yang Hao actually knows about his birdcage. You know, this move is his ultimate move. Many times, Doflamingo uses it to kill people, destroy corpses, and even destroy towns and islands. Such an effect is naturally destined. This trick will not spread. No one except the cadres will know about it. So, did Yang Hao know this from baby -5? However, what shocked Doflamingo even more was Yang Hao's purpose. He actually wanted to surround the marine headquarters with birdcages to isolate the battlefield. Does this mean you want to take action against marine headquarters? What is he planning? But no matter what the plan is, it would be too bold to invade marine headquarters like this. Doflamingo was shocked by Yang Hao's boldness. It's not like Malinfondo has never been attacked in history. In fact, many big pirates have done this. Doflamingo really has the ambition to overthrow the world government and bring chaos to the world. Thinking of this, Doflamingo was stunned. Golden Lion, Kaido, and now Whitebeard. Even if something happens to marine headquarters and it is related to him, he will never be regarded as the mastermind. But now, Sengoku, Aokiji and others are fighting Whitebeard at the front, and Yang Hao runs to the back and attacks marine headquarters directly. Isn't this too arousing to Marine's nerves? Doflamingo is very smart, so he figured this out right away. But so what? So Doflamingo's worries are unnecessary. The birdcage is completely opened, isolating the marine headquarters from the overhead battle ahead. Yang Hao had no intention of letting Doflamingo take the blame. They all attacked Malinfondo. In fact, Doflamingo is overthinking things. As soon as he finished speaking, he took the lead and flew towards marine headquarters. If Marine wants to find trouble, the first person he should look for is the owner of the birdcage. Of course, now that Doflamingo is using the birdcage to help Yang Hao, it will definitely affect his relationship with Marine in the future, and even his title of 7 Warlords of the Sea is likely to be abolished. But the problem is, he doesn't have the strength. Brush, moisturize. Ever since, when Yang Hao frowned and looked at it, a large number of threads immediately poured out of his body and shot up into the sky. To be honest, can Doflamingo afford this responsibility? That is himself. Wrong, but in that case, he would immediately offend Yang Hao. Yang Hao doesn't care about this. He suddenly thought that although Yang Hao had caused a huge disaster by doing this, it seemed that he was not the one to bear the blame. Brothers, let's get to work. By then, no matter what, Yang Hao, the culprit, will be exposed. Doflamingo was suddenly startled. Countless threads rushed up into the sky, and the next moment they fell in an umbrella shape. By then, the birdcage will isolate the inside and outside, and the signals and channels will be interrupted. Even if the marine headquarters is destroyed, who will know that it was Yang Hao who did it? Only then did Yang Hao show a hint of satisfaction. Logically speaking, Yang Hao is also a great pirate of the same level, and he does have the qualifications to attack Marine Fando. In order not to offend Marine, Doflamingo did not have to cooperate with Yang Hao to use the birdcage. Seeing that Doflamingo didn't act immediately, Yang Hao couldn't help but frown. Why, is there any problem? Is he really not afraid that Sang Guo and others will turn around and fight him tooth and nail? Marine's punishment for him is still far away, but if he offends Yang Hao, I'm afraid he will immediately become angry on the spot. Chapter 225 Momosagi is bitter. The general candidate is no longer enough. On top of the battlefield, the fierce battle continues. Because of Yang Hao's disappearance, many people looked at the place where he flew out. Whitebeard, Kizaru, and even Warring States are no exception. What they didn't expect was that Yang Hao did not appear again. The next moment, a large number of threads appeared, rising into the sky and then spreading out. That direction, it's Marine headquarters. What is that? Seeing this, everyone was startled. Warring States frowned, feeling vaguely uncomfortable. After thinking about it, he quickly asked his subordinates to contact Momosagi and the T-Dolphin who were guarding the marine headquarters. But soon, his subordinates replied with sweating profusely. Sengoku Fleet Admiral, the phone number at marine headquarters can't be reached. What? Warring States was startled, at the same time. Marine headquarters. Momosagi and the T-Dolphin also immediately noticed the thread falling in midair. What is that? I don't know, be careful. As candidates for the generalship, Momosagi and the T-Pig were assigned to guard the home during the Warring States period. Neither Momosagi nor the T-Dolphins were too stressed about this task. After all, there is a battlefield in front of the marine headquarters. If something happens to the Marine headquarters, Sengoku and others will be able to come back to help immediately. In view of this, Momosagi and Shadow even felt that the Sengoku arrangement was somewhat unnecessary. Under such circumstances, who would dare to take action against Marine headquarters? It's better to let them join the battlefield and accumulate some military exploits. But at this moment, the strange appearance of the silk thread made them a little slapped in the face. Both of them looked a little stunned. Does anyone really dare to attack Marine headquarters at this time? Immediately afterwards, as if to confirm their thoughts, bursts of roaring sounds sounded inside the Marine headquarters. Soon, panicked reports came from his subordinates. Lieutenant General Momosagi, Lieutenant General Momosagi, enemy attack, enemy attack. Hearing this, the two looked at each other in shock, and then asked in unison, "Who is the enemy? Who is coming in?" "It's Yang Hao, disastrous Yang Hao. He came in with Doflamingo and Flame Ember." The subordinate immediately said a name that made Momosagi and the T-Pig's faces change wildly. Yang Hao. The T-Dolphin was shocked. Momosagi also widened his beautiful eyes. They also knew about Yang Hao's appearance on the battlefield above. I was already shocked, but he never expected that Yang Hao would break into Marine headquarters at this time. What does he want to do? Quickly, notify Sengoku Fleet Admiral. T-Dolphin came back to his senses and quickly gave instructions to his subordinates. Although he has never played against Yang Hao, he also knows very well that Yang Hao can become famous and achieve such a terrifying record, which is definitely not something that the two general candidates can stop. We have to have Marine Admiral, who has the highest combat power of the Marines, to come forward. The phone can't be reached. Then the subordinate gave another reply that shocked the two of them. Can't get through. The T-Dolphin was extremely shocked. Momosagi was the first to calm down. Don't worry about it for now, hurry up and go out to fight. Even if there is no need to notify, Sengoku Fleet Admiral should know that there is a problem on our side. We can't let Yang Hao do whatever he wants before he sends out support. Saying this, Momosagi flew out first. T-Dolphin was startled, and then sighed. She is indeed the woman I have fallen in love with. You're right. Neither of us are vegetarians. Even the four emperors can't be too presumptuous. As soon as the voice fell, the T-Dolphin flicked its feet and quickly followed. After a while, when Momosagi and the T-Dolphin came to a certain location in the Marine headquarters, they saw the raging ape figure. There is no doubt that it is Yang Hao. In addition, Yang Hao was also accompanied by Jin, Enel, Doflamingo and others. Doflamingo looked very ugly. At this moment, he naturally knew Yang Hao's purpose. That's the conclusion. Marine headquarters' huge military expenditure. How audacious this is. The pirates robbed the money and actually robbed the Marine headquarters. Doflamingo actually always knew that Yang Hao was greedy for money. But I never expected that he would be so greedy. Even Marine headquarters dares to plot something. Isn't this a move on a tiger's head? In comparison, the time he blackmailed Big Mom and Kaido into taking money seemed like nothing. All in all, it's crazy. And the worst thing is that he has already boarded the pirate ship and cannot get off. All because when the birdcage was opened, he was already tied up with Yang Hao and others. At this point, we can only act together. Yang Hao, what are you going to do? Momosagi frowned and had to fight with Jin. Doflamingo, you are 7 warlords of the sea. Why do you want to join forces with Yang Hao to cause destruction here? For him now, being a candidate for general is no longer enough. To be honest, Momosagi really wanted to delay time, but he didn't expect Yang Hao to look fearless. Could it be? Has this man actually grown to this extent? Momosagi suddenly thought of those threads in the sky outside, and his heart sank. But after all, he is a candidate for general who has experienced hundreds of battles. Momosagi. The T-Dolphin screamed in fear, and Momosagi's pretty face was full of solemnity. Fire disaster. But Yang Hao just raised his eyebrows and stood motionless. But Yang Hao chuckled. Momosagi, we meet again, we seem to be really destined. But of course he couldn't touch Yang Hao, but was intercepted by Doflamingo who was facing his scalp. Yang Hao glanced at the T-Dolphin in surprise, and then continued moving forward with Enel. As soon as he finished speaking, red lightning burst out around Yang Hao. Momosagi gritted his teeth, held Jinbaluo in his hand, and struck hard at Yang Hao. She discovered decadently that before she knew it, the distance between her and Yang Hao had become like a chasm. However, if you want to delay time, you are thinking too much. A big sword blocked Jin Pila, and it was Jin next to Yang Hao who took action. From the beginning to the end, Momosagi and Ogado, the two general candidates, could not stop him even a step. Seeing Yang Hao and others, Momosagi immediately started scolding. He turned out to be a user with animal fruit abilities. The moment he swooped down, he turned into a huge toad. Momosagi's heart was filled with solemnity, a clanging sound. It is absolutely impossible to ask them to get out of the way. Although Conqueror's domineering power could not stun them, it reminded them of the gap between them and Yang Hao. Even if I talk to you here for a long time, there will be no support from outside. Of course, I don't have the leisure time, so let's be more direct. Do you two get out of the way, or do you choose to be killed by us? Conqueror's domineering. Doflamingo looked ugly and said nothing. When Yang Hao first entered the Grand Line, she was still chasing him. But now, she is no longer even qualified to fight Yang Hao. The terrifying momentum swept across like a hurricane. When the T-Dolphin saw his beloved woman in a bitter fight, he quickly swooped over. Chapter 226 Luffy appears and the battle changes one after another. The roaring sound from Marine Headquarters soon reached the battlefield above. Something happened to Marine Headquarters. Warring State's pupils shrank. Thinking of Yang Hao who just flew backwards over there, the uneasiness in his heart became more and more intense. Of course, Warring States never imagined that Yang Hao deliberately wanted to deal with Marine Headquarters. He subconsciously thought that after Yang Hao was knocked over there, he took advantage of the situation and took out his anger on the nearby Marine Headquarters. But this thread covering the sky seems a little strange. After thinking about it, Warring States decided to send a man with the highest combat power over. No matter what, Yang Hao cannot be allowed to act too wantonly. He looked around the battlefield and quickly found a candidate. The highest combat power in Marine must be the first choice of the three Marine generals. But now Aokiji and Kizaru are fighting fiercely. On the other hand, that guy Akainu had already disappeared from the battlefield after releasing a round of meteor volcano. It is estimated that they have secretly carried out their long-decided plan to separate. So at this time, he should be behind Marinevando, very close to Marine Headquarters. It would be most appropriate for him to go and see the situation. Of course, in addition to the three Marine generals, there are two others with the highest combat power, himself and Garp. But he himself wants to control and direct the entire battle situation and cannot take action for the time being. As for Garp, Sengoku has given up hope. This time, Ace was publicly prosecuted. As Ace's grandfather, this guy was not holding back. Thank God for the Sengoku period. Let him execute the battle order. If the water release delays the fighter plane, it will be in trouble. But then, before Sengoku could contact Akainu, an unexpected situation occurred again. In the high air above the battle, there was suddenly a burst of screams and noises. Ah! Help! It's going to fall! Warring States subconsciously looked up and was stunned. At the same time, many people also looked at the sound. Whitebeard. Aokiji is fighting fiercely with Katakuri and others. Ace on the execution table. Most of the people present looked up at the sky. Then everyone was shocked to see countless figures falling from the sky. Ace. At this moment, a shout, suppressing all the cries, spread throughout the entire battlefield on top. Ace's eyes widened and he was stunned, and finally couldn't help but scream. Luffy. Yes, the identity that dropped first was clearly that of a young man wearing a straw hat. If not Luffy, who else? Ace was shocked. He couldn't help but think of the information Magellan had revealed to him before. Luffy broke into Impel Down for him. Ace originally thought that Luffy was in danger, but he never expected that Luffy actually escaped Impel Down and came here. Soon. Everyone present was also shocked. Forget that Yang Hao had just arrived on the battlefield. Why did another group of people come? Who are these people? Warring States stared at the people falling from high in the sky. After seeing Luffy first, his expression immediately changed. Then after seeing the figures that followed Luffy, his heart suddenly sank. Crocodile, Sea Hero Jinbei, Monster King Ivankov. Garp, who was not far away, also opened his mouth to the maximum, and he was extremely shocked. Luffy. Here's the Whitebeard pirates. Everyone was also very surprised. Seeing Luffy, Marco, who was standing next to Whitebeard, wondered, isn't this the brother that Ace often talks about? Why does he? Whitebeard raised his eyebrows. It's too late to say it, but it will be soon. Luffy and others soon fell down. It was about to hit the ground firmly. Suddenly, the head of the Demon King Ivankov expanded and formed a human head balloon, catching everyone safely. Hey, these people. Why are they almost all wearing prison uniforms? These guys couldn't be more likely to have escaped from the Impel Down city, right? Everyone present was shocked when they saw Luffy and others. Luffy and others are not too eye-catching. What is more eye-catching is actually the black and white prison uniforms that almost half of them are wearing. This kind of uniform is obviously a prisoner's uniform, which immediately reminds people of Impel Down. But the question is, why do the prisoners of Impel City appear here? Could it be that there is something wrong with Impel City? The Marines suddenly became panicked. Impel Down City can also be considered as their rear area. Has something happened in the rear area? The leader, Warring States, looked extremely gloomy. He stared hard at Crocodile and Jinbei in the crowd. He still didn't know the circumstances of Luffy's intrusion into Impel Down City, because Magellan hadn't reported it yet. But he knew the situation of Crocodile and Jinbei clearly. These two guys are both imprisoned on the 6th floor of the Impel City. But now, it appears here, this clearly means that something happened in Impel Down City. And even the 6th floor has a problem. Thinking of this, Sangguo's face became so ugly and ugly. Originally, the situation at the Marine headquarters was unknown. Who would have thought that something would happen to Impel Down? To be honest, in this top battle, although the opponent is the strongest man in the world, Sengoku also feels that he has a chance to win. It's all because they have made countless preparations for this war. Regardless of strength or strategy, they will have the upper hand. But now, accidents happen frequently, making warring states a little more confused. The successive changes in the battle situation caught him off guard. Ace. I'm here to save you. After landing safely, Luffy screamed immediately. But at this moment, his expression suddenly changed and he suddenly looked in one direction. I saw a wind and sand sweeping over there, and in the blink of an eye, it flew to the Moby DK. Then the wind and sand condensed into Crocodile's figure next to Whitebeard. Oops. Jinbei's expression changed. Crocodile sneered, and the captain's hook in his right hand stabbed Whitebeard hard. At the critical moment, a figure wrapped in steam came quickly. Bang! Crocodile was immediately knocked away. Luffy's figure fell to the ground along with the seawater. This uncle is Whitebeard. This is a person that Ace respects very much. Crocodile will not allow you to attack him. Luffy said with a frown. Crocodile's face darkened, he looked at the seawater on the ground, his expression was ugly and he said nothing. Marco, who was not far away, couldn't help but smile when he saw this. Ace's younger brother is very skilled. Whitebeard couldn't help but glance at Luffy in surprise. But then his face turned cold. Are you Ace's brother? But this is not a pirate's house. Ace Lousy will rescue him, so go home quickly. What? I'm here to save Ace too, and I will definitely rescue him. When Luffy heard this, he immediately said dissatisfied. Ivankov, Buggy and others were stunned and frightened by Luffy's actions. This is the strongest man in the world, and Luffy confronts him without fear. In an instant, everyone's attention on the battlefield couldn't help but shift to Luffy. And at the same time, Yang Hao, who is at Marine headquarters, has succeeded. Chapter 227 Encounter with Akainu. The brother who shocked the world. Scared, have you thought about it? This is your last chance? Since Whitebeard betrayed you, why do you still think about him? In Marinefondo, in a certain alley, Akainu, who disappeared on the battlefield above, appeared here. In front of him was a Mediterranean man with long hair, holding a long knife in his hand. None other than the great vortex spider, Skuard. At this moment, Skuard's face showed a look of extreme struggle. Just now, all of them, the pirates under the Whitebeard pirates, were sent here by Whitebeard. After all, the middlemost encirclement wall surrounded most of the Whitebeard pirates' combat power, so Whitebeard adopted the strategy of surrounding Wei and rescuing Zhao. The attempt is to have them interfere at the rear of the battlefield, attract marine combat power, and relieve the pressure on the siege wall partners. But what Skuard never expected was that he would attract Akainu, one of the most powerful marines. Isn't this guy cooperating with the pacifists to storm the siege wall? Why is he here? Skuard was astonished and fell into despair, because with his strength, he would never be able to block Akainu's blow. But what made him even more unexpected was that Akainu saw that he did not kill him with a fatal blow, but instead started talking. The content of the conversation also surprised Skuard. According to Akainu, Whitebeard had already made an agreement with Marine. They must sacrifice the lives of their pirate groups in exchange for Ace's survival. Even the terrifying offensive inside the siege wall was fake. Enclosing the Whitebeard pirates with a thick steel barrier is not attacking them, but protecting them, allowing Marine to easily eliminate their pirate groups. In fact, if Skuard had a little more brains, he wouldn't have been fooled by Akainu. Because the fierce attack on the wall just now cannot be faked. However, when he learned that Ace was the son of One Piece Roger, Skuard's heart was in chaos. All because his former shipmate was killed by Roger. There is sworn hatred between the two sides. Skuard was originally asked to save his enemy's son, but he inevitably felt uncomfortable in his heart. Now Akainu's words have added fuel to the fire, leaving Skuard completely confused. Seeing Skuard's look, Akainu chuckled to himself, knowing that the plan to break up the relationship was successful. Next, if nothing else happens, Skuard will switch sides with Whitebeard. But just when Akainu was thinking this, an accident happened. Haha, Akainu, you are sowing discord again. It's not like you can't defeat Whitebeard, so why bother? Just as Skuard's expression relaxed, a joking voice came from midair. Akainu was startled and looked over suddenly. Skuard was also stunned. He followed the sound and immediately saw a group of people falling from the sky. The leading figure is a 3-meter-tall ape with a mocking expression. In addition, there are Jin, Enel, Doflamingo and others. Disastrous Yang Hao. Skuard was startled. Akainu frowned. Why did Yang Hao and others appear here, and Doflamingo, why did he get involved with Yang Hao? Akainu was so surprised that he didn't notice that at some point in the Marine headquarters not far away, those threads disappeared. This situation naturally means that the birdcage has disappeared. As for why the birdcage disappeared, it was naturally because Yang Hao's action had been successful. At this time, Yang Hao's handsome face slowly showed a smile. The Marine headquarters defense force is not strong. After taking care of Momoshagi and the T-Dolphin, they had an unobstructed journey. Then with the help of Enel, Yang Hao quickly found the funds of Marine headquarters and wiped them out. A rough calculation shows that the amount is definitely over 10 billion. After doing this, Yang Hao naturally took Jin and others, put away the birdcage and left. After leaving, Yang Hao originally wanted to take Jin and others directly back to the center of the battlefield, but he happened to run into Akainu and Skuard. Seeing this scene, Yang Hao naturally understood something and immediately laughed out loud. Akainu's face suddenly darkened. There is no doubt that after being seen by Yang Hao, his plan to sow discord failed. After all, this time, Yang Hao is here to help Whitebeard. He couldn't just sit back and watch Schoolyard switch sides. When he turned back to talk to Whitebeard, Whitebeard became wary, and there was no chance that Schoolyard would defect. Unless Yang Hao and others die here. But, is this possible? Akainu also knew it was unlikely. After all, now not only Yang Hao has bumped into him, but also many people, including Jin, Doflamingo and others. With so many mouths open, it was impossible for him to stop them all at once. But thinking of this, Akainu's body was still filled with lava, and he immediately launched a fierce attack. Yang Hao, you came just in time, you can die here, big fire breathing. At the end of the sentence, Akainu roared loudly, and a huge fist of magma suddenly burst out and struck towards Yang Hao and others. The surrounding temperature rose sharply in an instant. On top of the battlefield, Luffy and Whitebeard go up against the bull. Seeing this, Warring States quickly announce Luffy's identity. This Straw Hat Boy's identity is not simple either, he is Ace's younger brother. But they are just sworn brothers. The Straw Hat Boy's name is Monkey D. Luffy, and his father is the most vicious criminal in the world, Monkey D. Dragon. Hearing this, the battlefield suddenly became uproar. Smoker, who was fighting, looked astonished, no wonder. The Pirate Empress turned red. Even if you are the most evil bloodline in the world, it doesn't matter. Garp looked gloomy. Whitebeard and the others couldn't help but glance at Luffy. And people all over the world are naturally confused again. The two descendants of the most evil bloodline in the world are actually brothers. It's really amazing. At the same time, the Grand Line, Baldigo, known as the Island of White Earth. This is the headquarters of the Revolutionary Army. At this moment, most of the Revolutionary Army cadres were watching the live broadcast of the war on the top through the live broadcast. Among them, in addition to Monkey D. Long, the leader of the Revolutionary Army, Sabo, the second in command of the Revolutionary Army, is also there. At this moment, Sabo didn't know when he had stood up from his seat and stared at the screen. In the original work, during the war, Saab was actually performing a secret mission, which resulted in the loss of contact with the outside world. It's just Yang Hao's presence that has invisibly changed his situation, causing him to return to the headquarters recently. In this case, he would naturally not ignore a grand war like the war on the top, so he watched the live broadcast with others. Just when he saw Ace, Sabo was stunned. In the dark, his foggy memory seemed to gradually become clearer. Until Luffy's figure appeared in the image, an electric light flashed in Sabo's mind, and the fog was completely dispelled. Leader, Sabo suddenly shouted, let's go to Marineland. Straw Hat Luffy, not only is he your son, he is also my brother. And Ace, they too need me very much now. Hearing this, Long was stunned. Chapter 228 Whitebeard takes action. Kaido and Blackbeard appear. On top of the battlefield, the battle is still in full swing. After Luffy and Whitebeard gored the bull, they rushed towards the execution platform. Ace. But his full enthusiasm soon suffered a huge setback. The people here, even if they step out of any named role, he can't compete with them. As a result, Luffy was frustrated one after another, and was even pushed to the ground and rubbed by Smoker. That is to say, Boya Hancock took action and he was not caught on the spot. Such a performance quickly made Whitebeard frown and look away. However, the joining of Luffy and others relieved some of their pressure. So much so that the battle situation on the field tilted towards them again. But judging from the current situation, it will take quite a while to attack the execution platform. Whitebeard does not intend for this war to develop into a protracted war. The core purpose is to rescue Ace. In this case, of course, it must be done quickly. Thinking of this, Whitebeard's gaze suddenly fell on the surrounding thick barriers. Judging from the mid to high level combat power, they have gradually gained an advantage. The reason why there wasn't much tension was entirely because it was blocked by those surrounding walls. In this case, let's break it open. Thinking of this, Whitebeard suddenly grabbed Kong Yunky next to him and then slashed hard. This wall is too annoying, Warring States. The moment the clouds fell, a white circle rose instantly. Immediately afterwards, there were red and black lightnings, which merged into a shocking shockwave and surged out. Boom! There was a loud bang. The entire battlefield was attracted. Warring States' face changed wildly. Be careful, the strongest man in the world has taken action. A terrifying impact rushed towards the surrounding wall in front. Marines along the way were instantly blown away as if they were swept by a dozen-level typhoon. Immediately afterwards, a terrifying shockwave hit the surrounding wall like an ancient behemoth. Bang! There was another super loud noise. All the surrounding walls shook. The surrounding wall that received the impact from the front exploded under the shocked eyes of the surrounding Marines. A large irregular hole more than 20 meters long appeared. This thick surrounding wall can block most pirate attacks, but it cannot stop Whitebeard. As the big hole appeared, the pirates inside suddenly became energetic and rushed out one after another. The Marines' bombardment can no longer achieve large-scale destruction. When Whitebeard saw this, he was about to destroy the surrounding wall in one go. But at this moment, he suddenly froze and looked towards the sky. This side of the Warring States period. Seeing Whitebeard take action, he suddenly broke through the surrounding wall. Garp was too embarrassed to stand by and watch any longer. As soon as his figure froze, he was about to fly out to face Whitebeard. But before he could take action, a sudden change occurred. A huge shadow suddenly covered it from the sky. At the same time, a terrifying pressure spread directly throughout the entire battlefield. In addition, there is a sound of dragon roar. Whitebeard, your head belongs to Lousy. Whitebeard frowned and looked up. Sengoku, Garp, all Marine. Marco, Josie and others also followed the sound. I saw a giant dragon flying over 1,000 meters in the sky. The giant dragon soars into the clouds and rides in the mist, and the dragon's power is frightening and terrifying. Kaido. Whitebeard's brows furrowed even more. Warring States, Garp and others' expressions changed greatly, especially the Warring States period. In fact, after Crocodile and Jinbei appeared just now, he had been asking his subordinates to contact Impel Down. Just couldn't get in touch. All kinds of situations seem to indicate that the situation is serious. And now, the appearance of Kaido has completely confirmed this. There's something really wrong over there in Impel Down City. And it's not a small problem, it's the hidden 6th floor where prisoners have escaped. Warring State's face was as dark as water, and his expression was extremely ugly. The Marines at the bottom were all dumbfounded. Dragon. Where did the dragon come from? This is Kaido of the 100 Beasts. 4 Emperors Kaido. Wasn't he captured into Impel Down? Why is he here? Don't tell me, oh my god, there are so many big pirates, the Calamity Yonghao, Kaido of the Beasts, and Whitebeard. These are the 3-4 Emperors, right? Can we really beat him? The Marines took a taxi and fell to the bottom. The Marine generals all had serious expressions on their faces. Even Aokiji and Kizaru are no exception. Kizaru even sighed. It's so scary. Did you stab the pirate den? Why are they all here? In an instant, the atmosphere collapsed, and a shockwave even more terrifying than before rose into the sky. He didn't bother to attack this beef cow, but planned to avoid it directly. Fortunately, Kaido, who ran out of Impel Down City, did not cause trouble for their Marines, but instead targeted Whitebeard. Whitebeard attacked with all his strength, shocking everyone with his skills in an instant. Whitebeard leaned the Kong Yunki to the side, then gritted his teeth, clenched his fist fiercely, and hit Kaido, who fell above. When Warring States saw this, his face became slightly relaxed. All we can do now is fight this battle well. After he roared wildly, the 1,000-meter-long dragon body fell towards Whitebeard like a meteor. Immediately afterwards, the red thunder formed by the Conquerors and the black energy formed by the armed colors flashed alternately. When Warring States saw this, he was stunned. Hearing this voice, Whitebeard was startled, and then an extremely cold light flashed in his eyes. At the same time, several figures were also blown away from Kaido's dragon body. However, Marco and others were not too happy, and seeing Kaido bumping into him, Whitebeard's brows furrowed even more tightly. Otherwise, they would really not be able to reach the shore at both ends. Under the shocked gaze of everyone, something happened to Impel Down City for sure. Kaido's next behavior also confirmed this. Whitebeard gave a low shout and suddenly punched out. Kaido, what are you doing? We haven't landed yet, don't mess around. The body that was about to dodge suddenly came to a standstill. This is the strongest man in the world. Just like the space was shattering, an obvious sound of rupture spread throughout the entire venue instantly. The shock ability instantly formed a white circle, encircling Whitebeard's fist. Immediately afterwards, the 1,000-meter-long dragon body flew away. Drink. A buzzing sound. Because of Kaido's behavior, he seems to be looking for trouble with Whitebeard. Click. When everyone saw this, their scalps felt numb. Blackbeard. In this way, maybe they can still use their strength to fight. Kaido's dragon head froze in an instant, and blood spurted from his mouth. But at this moment, a familiar voice came from Kaido. When Marco and others saw one of the figures, their expressions suddenly became extremely ugly. Chapter 229 Blackbeard and Kaido are both unreliable. Whitebeard compromises again. Blackbeard. The Warring States period was stunned. The faces of Marco and others became extremely ugly. As Kaido was knocked away by Whitebeard's attack, several figures flew backwards, vomiting blood. One of the fat black figures was not Blackbeard, who else? Seeing Blackbeard, Warring States came to his senses and frowned. This guy has never appeared as 7 warlords of the sea before, and I don't know where he went. Why did you run out with Kaido again now? But soon, Warring States' attention was attracted by several other people. Huge battleship? Xuanyue Hunter? King of Evil? These are the prisoners on the 6th floor of Impel Down City. Damn it. There is really a problem on the 6th floor, and it is very possible that all the prisoners have escaped. Thinking of this, Zheng Guo's face turned pale. At this time, Marco and others were staring at Blackbeard. Teach, you be *******D. No, it should be called Blackbeard. How dare this damn guy show up here? Kill this culprit. The Whitebeard pirates and others were filled with indignation. Suddenly seeing Blackbeard as the culprit, they all became extremely angry. Everything starts from him. If it weren't for Black Tiger, Thatch wouldn't have to die, and Ace wouldn't be publicly executed. They didn't even have to fight Marine, and now there are countless casualties. Blackbeard. Marco, who had always been gentle, couldn't bear it anymore and instantly turned into a phoenix, flew out of the surrounding wall and killed Blackbeard. But on the way, he was stopped by a figure flying towards him. Bang! Marco was knocked down from midair. Why ha ha ha. You must be Marco. I heard the captain talking about you. If you want to fight, you'd better practice with me first. The figure raised its arms horizontally, showing off its strong and huge muscles. It was none other than Blackbeard's first subordinate, the fighting champion, Badgers. Ha 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 ha. Seeing Badgers intercepting Marco, Blackbeard suddenly laughed proudly. Captain Marco, long time no see, you guys really came to save Ace, you really care about love and justice. It's a pity that you guys like this are destined to be eliminated by the times. In this world, only ruthless people can have everything. At the end of the sentence, Blackbeard couldn't help laughing again. However, in his complacency, he seemed to have forgotten why he was knocked down just now. Bang! A strong footstep suddenly sounded behind Blackbeard. A terrifying aura instantly enveloped Blackbeard. Blackbeard's laughter stopped suddenly, and his eyes widened with a look of fear. Teach, even if my sons make mistakes, I am willing to give them the opportunity to correct them, but if you can't, you are hopeless. At this time, Whitebeard suddenly appeared behind Blackbeard. Seeing this scene, the King of Evil and others were shocked, and then subconsciously took a few steps back. Although they said they were dealing with Whitebeard together, they were still extremely fearful when they actually saw him. Even Fan Oka and others were frightened by Whitebeard's momentum and forgot to take action for a while. In other words, Blackbeard reacted faster, and a black smoke-like substance suddenly rose from his body, but he was still a step too late. Whitebeard's fist was filled with shocking power and he pressed down suddenly. Blackbeard's expression changed drastically, and then his face was distorted, his head was deformed, and finally his entire figure was tilted and pressed to the ground. Boom, boom, boom. The hard ground suddenly shattered. Ah! Blackbeard screamed wildly and fell into the abyss formed by the cracking of the ground. Captain Fan Oka and others finally reacted and wanted to attack Whitebeard. But just at this moment, Marco, Josie, and Foil Bister came to kill them one after another. Looking at Badgers again, he was also kicked away by Marco. Seeing this situation, the Evil King, Shilu and others who followed Blackbeard were dumbfounded. With so many people united, they are not afraid of Whitebeard. But there is no doubt that Blackbeard is definitely the main force against Whitebeard. But now, Blackbeard, as the main force, was suddenly defeated. What does this mean? This situation really embarrassed Shiryu and others. Thunder ate trigrams, but just then, a turning point occurred. Kaido's figure, at some point, appeared next to Whitebeard. The jet black mace, filled with terrifying thunder and power, slammed into Whitebeard. Whitebeard's pupils shrank, and he grabbed Kong Yunki and held it in front of him, but in the next second, he was still knocked back several steps. There was a bang. The violent force caused the surrounding ground to crack. Seeing this kind of power, everyone felt awe in their hearts. Shiryu and others were refreshed. Kaido. Although Blackbeard is missing, fortunately there is still Kaido. And Kaido is a beef cow, so he seems to be more reliable than Blackbeard. Not far away, Warring States finally breathed a sigh of relief when they saw this. Akainu flew over from a distance and fell to the ground. It's none other than Yang Hao, and in the direction where he flew towards, a young figure flew after him. Sengoku was thinking about this when suddenly Akainu returned to the battlefield. Laozi wants to fight Whitebeard. When he saw Whitebeard's persuasion, his heart tightened, fearing that Kaido would agree. Dad. When Whitebeard heard this, he glanced at Shiryu and the others, and then looked at Kaido with a gloomy look. Kaido, if you want to fight, Laozi is always with you, but not now. With their power, as long as they are given a chance, they can definitely cause huge damage in a short period of time. Fortunately, Kaido did not agree. Of course he understands that the reason why Whitebeard is like this is entirely for him. But now, Whitebeard rarely agreed, but instead had a tone of discussion. By the way, there's also Akainu, why haven't you come back yet? With his arrogance, if Kaido wanted to fight, he would have agreed long ago. However, Kaido burst out laughing when he heard this. Marco and others are definitely no match for Shiryu and others. Just hear a bang. Kaido shouted and attacked Whitebeard again. Katakuri and others should be there to help. On the execution platform, Ace's eyes were filled with tears. Didn't you try to break up the quarrel? Did you succeed? When Marco and others heard this, their expressions became complicated. But in this way, the entangled Aokiji and Kizaru are free to deal with other pirates. It's just that the way Akainu returned to the battlefield greatly exceeded Sengoku's expectations. Hearing this, Shiryu, the King of Evil and others looked ugly. This is the second time Whitebeard has compromised. It was the first time when discussing with Yang Hao, and now it is the second time when facing Kaido's challenge. But it seems that now, there seems to be no need for Schoolyard to attack Whitebeard. But at this moment, Kaido glanced at Shiryu and others, but said in a low voice, "Hey, you guys, don't come to hinder me. Whitebeard, if I don't kill you here, I won't have a chance, so you'd better die in my hands." Thinking of this, Shiryu and others gained the courage, and they took an offensive stance and wanted to besiege Whitebeard. After all, if Kaido doesn't deal with Whitebeard, he may soon turn to settle the score with Marine. And next, as long as Kaido hangs on Whitebeard, Marine will have the upper hand. Shiryu and others will probably help deal with Marco and others. It still seems unreliable. Chapter 230 Yang Hao returns, Kaido's anger. General Sakazuki. What's going on? That person is the fierce Yang Hao. The Marines exclaimed, and then all looked frightened. The leader Zheng Guo's face darkened. He also noticed just now that there was no roaring sound from the Marine headquarters, and the shrouding threads had also disappeared. Earlier, he actually planned to ask Akainu to check the situation. But he was dragged down by the fighting situation at the scene. After going back and forth, the situation over there seemed to be over. But what he never expected was that after the situation at Marine headquarters ended, Akainu would be knocked away. What is going on? Immediately afterwards, several more figures suddenly appeared behind Yang Hao. Surprisingly, it was Jin, Doflamingo, Enel and others. It is worth mentioning. When facing Akainu just now, Yang Hao did not take action. The reason why Akainu was beaten away was entirely due to Jin and others. So at this moment, he took on a human form and landed gracefully on the battlefield. But at this time, Akainu also became angry, a whole, big spitfire. Not only was his plan to sow discord with Schoolyard ruined, his face was even trampled on the ground by Yang Hao. Such a situation made Akainu blast out a huge magma fist without saying a word. However, Yang Hao stood motionless and just smiled. The next second, a black shadow flew out and blocked the huge magma fist. It's Jin. At the same time, a bolt of lightning fell from the sky and struck Akainu. Akainu was about to dodge, but at this moment, his body tightened, and it was Doflamingo who parasitically controlled him. Boom! Akainu was struck head-on by lightning. Although he did not suffer much damage, he still became more anxious. Doflamingo, did you really betray Marine? When Warring States saw this, he couldn't help but scolded loudly. He had long known that the 7 warlords of the sea system was unreliable, but the real situation still made him angry. Before the war started, Jinbei refused to cooperate, and now he has become the fighting force of the Whitebeard pirates. Not to mention Blackbeard, he did not contribute at all and seemed to be the main culprit behind the unrest in the city. Doflamingo also switched sides on the spot and now clearly stands on Yang Hao's side. In other words, out of the 7 warlords of the sea, almost 3 of them rebelled. Such a situation made warring states have blue veins on their foreheads. As for Akainu, he was also very angry. He originally wanted to provoke Schoolyard to betray Whitebeard, but now he was betrayed by Doflamingo. He stared at Doflamingo, his eyes almost bursting with fire. However, Doflamingo remained silent and seemed to turn a blind eye to these angry looks. In fact, he was also helpless. But now, there is only one way to go. He couldn't help Yang Hao just now and now turn around and help Marine, right? In this case, to do so is not to have both sides, but to be caught in the middle, in a dilemma. Doflamingo is not an idiot. He knows the current situation very well. He can only help Yang Hao until the end of the war. Otherwise, if he is caught in the middle and makes both sides dissatisfied, even with his strength, he will die here. Thinking of this, Doflamingo became even more helpless. Obviously she just came here with the mentality of enjoying the fun and watching the fun. What is going on now? As if seeing Doflamingo's helplessness, Yang Hao patted his shoulder and affirmed, "Young master, well done." When Doflamingo heard this, his eyes under his sunglasses suddenly rolled wildly. "Who wants your approval?" Yang Hao smiled and ignored the incompetent and furious Akainu. In the original work, Akainu is indeed the top MVP and his performance is very impressive. But now, he didn't see enough. Now, he is not qualified even if he wants to attack Yang Hao. Needless to say, Jin and others, as Yang Hao made his appearance, Katakuri and others also moved closer intentionally. In the blink of an eye, Yang Hao was surrounded by powerful men, forming a shocking lineup. On the contrary, Whitebeard was fighting alone because Marco, Josie and others were entangled. Yang Hao scanned the scene, passing the execution platform, and finally fixed on Whitebeard. "Whitebeard, why are you moving so slowly? I've been there for a while and come back, but you haven't rescued Ace yet?" Yang Hao's voice contained ridicule. The King of Evil and others suddenly looked at Yang Hao in shock. They have been imprisoned in Impel Down City for too long, and many people no longer pay attention to outside information. So they know Kaido, but they don't know Yang Hao. Now seeing such a young Yang Hao chatting and laughing with Whitebeard, I couldn't help but be shocked. But what shocked them was that Whitebeard didn't get angry after being teased. Instead, he smiled and said, "Without your help, I can't do it as an old man, and I have to spend my money well, right?" Obviously, this is a conversation that puts it on equal footing. At this time, Kaido did not continue to attack Whitebeard, but looked at Jin, Quinn and others. "Jin, Quinn. Why are you here too? At this time, Kaido was no longer in a hurry to take action, but became confused. His attention was focused on Whitebeard just now, but he hadn't noticed it yet. But now if we take a closer look, there are many people from the Beast Pirates. 3 disasters and 6 sons, even Yang Hao is here. Boss Kaido, are you okay? Quinn said excitedly. He was knocked into the iceberg just now, and it was only now that he struggled out. Seeing Kaido, I was immediately excited, and Jack. On the other hand, Lincoln Luji and others looked a little subtle. The Beast Pirates, currently the 3 plagues, are still loyal to Kaido. But their 6 volleys are different. For them, having milk means being a mother. Kaido is indeed very powerful, but Yang Hao seems to be not bad either. Moreover, having Yang Hao as the head of the family has a greater benefit for them. The 3 disasters may be replaced, and in this case, they will have a chance to take over. On the other hand, if Kaido continues to be the boss, their chances will be much less. So when they saw Kaido appear, they were not that happy. Jin was extremely excited. This is why he still blocks Akainu for Yang Hao. Yang Hao actually got it right. The more chaotic the battlefield is, the easier it will be for Kaido to escape from prison. And now, Kaido actually came out of Impel Down, but then, something worrying happened. Seeing Yang Hao and Whitebeard laughing and talking, Kaido suddenly said dissatisfied to Yang Hao. Yang Hao, what are you telling this old guy? Why did you help him? Only then did Kaido notice that Jin, Quinn and others were all fighting against Marine. So, Yang Hao and the Whitebeard Pirates have formed an alliance. When Yang Hao heard Kaido's question, he immediately smiled and said, yes, Boss Kaido, this time I took the money and came to help Whitebeard. If you are caught, the Beast Pirates must survive. I want to make money to support these large numbers of subordinates. What? Kaido shouted. A-hole, who asked you to do this? So you mean, even if Lousy wants to kill Whitebeard now, you have to stop him? Hearing this, Whitebeard also looked at Yang Hao silently. In fact, even though he has a smile on his face, he is also worried in his heart. Kaido appears. Will the Beast Pirates still listen to Yang Hao? Or will Yang Hao listen to Kaido and change his stance to deal with them? That situation made Whitebeard's heart sink. But what made Whitebeard curl up was that when Yang Hao heard Kaido's words, he spread his hands. There is no other way. You have to do things after you get the money. Otherwise, who will dare to hire us in the future? Kaido was stunned when he heard this. Chapter 231 Internal Strife Among the Beast Pirates. Thanks to Book Friends for the 200 reward in 2021. After hearing Yang Hao's words, Kaido was stunned. When he came to his senses, he was furious. Yang Hao, Lousy asked you to come back to do things for Lousy, not to go against Lousy. As soon as he finished speaking, red lightning suddenly burst out from Kaido's body surface. The hurricane suddenly rose, and a terrifying momentum swept towards Yang Hao. The terrifying fluctuations frightened most of the people present. However, when Yang Hao raised his eyelids, an equally terrifying aura suddenly surged out. Boom! The 2 conquerors' domineering forces collided together, and thunder surged and strong winds roared at the scene. In the blink of an eye, a vacuum formed around the 2 of them. Conquerors' collision. This Yang Hao actually has conquerors. But what is going on? Is Yang Hao going to resist Kaido? This twists and turns quickly attracted the attention of most people. Warring States is also staring at this side. It is no exaggeration to say that the negotiations and intentions between Yang Hao and Kaido are very likely to affect the outcome of this battle at the top. So at this moment, he did not issue an order to deal with the 2 of them, but gave them time to negotiate. As for Whitebeard and others, they will naturally not interfere. But seeing Yang Hao's resistance, they all cheered up. Even Whitebeard is no exception. If Yang Hao ignores their deal and joins forces with Kaido, there will be trouble. But now it seems that he doesn't intend to renege on the terms of the deal. Boom! At this moment, there was a loud noise, and the 2 conquerors' domineering energies cancelled each other out. Yang Hao's low voice then sounded. I don't do things. If I don't do things, Wano country would have been crushed by Big Mom, and if I didn't do things, the Beast's pirates would have been wiped out long ago. I've been doing things all the time. Even if you, the governor of the Beast's pirates, were able to escape, it's all thanks to me. If you don't approve of my actions, then you are no longer qualified to serve as the governor of the Beast Pirates. I believe the entire Beast Pirates think so. Yang Hao's words were striking. Kaido's expression suddenly changed. For a moment, he couldn't think of any point to refute. All because even he agreed very much with Yang Hao's words. After all, without him, that crazy woman like Big Mom would have set foot in the land of peace, and the Beast Pirates would have been massacred and destroyed by her. As for his ability to escape from Impel Down City now, if you think about it carefully, it is indeed due to Yang Hao. His participation in the battle will definitely attract Marine's attention, so that Impel Down City will have no time to support him. Otherwise, even if there are not many, as long as a Marine general is sent, the Impel City will not be completely lost. Jin, Quinn, Jack and others also struggled when they heard Yang Hao's words. To be honest, before that, they were definitely on Kaido's side. But now, Yang Hao's words made them suddenly react. Yang Hao has indeed done a lot. Without him, he and others might have died. How can I still stand here alive and kicking? As for Kaido, that may be true, but he really has no credit. So now, is he really qualified to question Yang Hao's actions? Thinking of this, Jin and others all had complicated expressions. Governor, we, the young ones, actually see what Mr. Yang Hao does. Otherwise, you'd better not get involved in this battle. At this moment, a monster that was half human and half sword tiger spoke to persuade. It was none other than Fuzfu, one of the 6 Lingkong disciples. This guy has always wanted to be promoted to the big poster, and even in the original work, he threatened to replace him with a certain disaster. This shows that he is also an ambitious person. Ever since, he glanced at the right moment and expressed his loyalty to Yang Hao. Yang Hao nodded secretly and glanced at Fuzfu appreciatively. In fact, for him, the strength of his subordinates is not that important. Loyalty is the first requirement. And this Fuzfu is very good. When he spoke now, although he pleased Yang Hao, he also offended Kaido and paid a lot of price. But what he said was not enough. So, Yang Hao said in a deep voice. Why not intervene in the battle? He should intervene in the battle, but not to deal with Whitebeard, but to help us and stand on the same camp as our beasts pirates to deal with Marine. Kaido, did you hear that? At the end of the sentence, Yang Hao yelled at Kaido again. Quinn and Jack, who were initially hesitant, couldn't help but become stunned when they saw this. If this is the case, then make a decisive decision and eradicate it. Laozi is the governor of the beast pirates. You should listen to my orders, not order me. Originally, he invited Yang Hao back to enhance the strength of the beast pirates. As soon as the words fell, Kaido's figure suddenly activated and came to Yang Hao's side. It has only been a while now, but now the beast pirates are already on the verge of being controlled by Yang Hao. When he gets angry, there are still people who dare to help him. Kaido roared angrily and wanted to chase him again. There was a boom. So as soon as Yang Hao finished speaking, Kaido's face became ferocious. Yes, the person blocking Kaido at this moment is actually Jin, the most loyal to Kaido in the beast pirates. Kaido was about to give chase, but another figure stood in front of him. But at this moment, Fuzfu gritted his teeth and turned into a phantom to attack. At the same time, his fear of Yang Hao increased greatly. But now, he seems to have invited an outsider in. Kaido became even more angry when he saw it, and with a thunderous 8 trigrams, he swept the 2 of them away. Eat lousy once, thunder 8 trigrams, and when he thought about this, Kaido's murderous intention towards Yang Hao naturally became stronger. Puff. Jin, are you going to betray me too? He definitely wouldn't agree with what he said. Like thunder exploding. The beast pirates are in internal strife. At this time, 2 more figures rushed toward Kaido, and they turned out to be the Runti siblings among the 6 Lingkong children. Thinking of this, Kaido was a little scared. If he came out later, wouldn't he have a place in the beast pirates by then? Just seeing this figure, Kaido did not take action immediately, but stopped with a look of astonishment on his face. The 2 siblings obviously chose Yang Hao's side, just like Fuzfu. Yang Hao was instantly knocked out. After all, Kaido at this time, unlike Whitebeard, has no reason to compromise. The sharp claws scratched Kaido's chest, but did not cause any damage. Yang Hao, don't think that just because you killed Linlin, you can replace Laozi. Laozi is stronger than that old woman. This proves that Yang Hao does have the tendency to replace him. Everyone around them looked at this scene in shock. Laozi wants to kill you, the boss of the beast pirates is me. Fuzfu's pupils shrank, and he was also beaten away by the violent mace. But he knew that it was Kaido's pride. Chapter 232 The Destined Battle, Yang Hao vs Kaido. Jin, are you going to betray me too? At this moment, Kaido looked at Jin in astonishment. To be honest, when he saw in the newspaper that Yang Hao killed Big Mom, Kaido was actually worried that Yang Hao would replace him and become the talker of the beast pirates. But when he thought of Jin's existence, Kaido felt relieved. Even if Yang Hao can kill Big Mom, it is not that easy to replace him as the governor of the beast pirates. At least Jin, the second in command, is his staunch supporter. But now, what Kaido never expected was, when he and Yang Hao were in conflict, Jin actually sided with Yang Hao. At this time, Jin's face was also very complicated, and he said in a hoarse voice, Boss Kaido, stop it. He is indeed very loyal to Kaido, but Jin also saw Yang Hao's efforts during this period. In particular, Yang Hao did not deceive him. As they made a fuss on the battlefield above, Kaido really escaped from Impel Down City. So Jin had to agree with what Yang Hao said just now. At this moment, he really couldn't stand on Kaido's side regardless. Looking at Jin standing in front of him, Kaido's face was ferocious, and the mace in his hand flashed with lightning. What if? I don't stop. Jin didn't speak, and just continued to transform. In the blink of an eye, he transformed from a human form into a pitch-black pterosaur. Obviously, his meaning was already obvious. If Kaido insists on having his own way, he will actually stop him. Ha ha ha, if that's the case, then you should die too. Thunder 8 trigrams. Feeling Jin's determination, Kaido suddenly laughed and waved the mace in his hand. When the pterosaur saw this, A trace of anthropomorphic sadness flashed in its eyes. He didn't really make a move, he just stood there firmly, like a pet abandoned by its owner, with lifeless eyes. There is no plan to defend against the upcoming terrorist attack. Jin sighed and slowly closed his eyes. Boom. It's too late to say it, but it will be soon. The mace in Kaido's hand was packed with lightning and domineering force, and he smashed it boldly. Even if the other party is Jin, who was once the most loyal to him. But after being disappointed, Kaido didn't hold back at all. The terrifying power even caused cracks to appear in the air, as if it was unbearable. Seeing that such a blow was about to fall on Jin. With a bang, a huge figure suddenly appeared and squeezed between Kaido and Jin, blocking the incoming mace. Boom. The hurricane swept through, and the terrifying power surged away. When everyone around them saw this, they were stunned again. The expected pain and death did not appear. Jin was stunned for a moment, then noticed something and opened his eyes. A huge furry body suddenly appeared in front of him. In the misty steam, Jin could only vaguely see the thick back. But at this moment, my confused heart landed on the shore and became extremely at ease. A familiar voice came. Kaido, what did you do to my partner? I tried my best to save them from Auntie, but I'm not here to be used as a punching bag for you. If anything happens, come to me. At the end of the sentence, the voice suddenly turned into a roar. The terrifying red thunder, mixed with strong sound waves, swept across. Jin's heart was shocked and he stayed in place for a while. Conqueror's roar shook the entire audience instantly. Almost everyone looked shocked. Even Kaido was momentarily distracted. There is no doubt that the huge figure that blocked Kaido's thunderous 8 trigrams and let out Conqueror's roar was none other than Yang Hao. At this moment, he suddenly turned into a 15-meter giant ape with steam all over his body and returned here. Taking advantage of the moment when Conqueror's roar shocked Kaido, Yang Hao suddenly let go and punched out. Ape God Spear. Kaido was caught off guard and was immediately beaten back more than 10 steps. After standing still with a rumble, a hint of elementary school appeared on the corner of his mouth, and his expression became extremely ugly. Yang Hao, around Kaido, red lightning was also surging. Obviously, this most powerful creature was angered. At this moment, his murderous intention towards Yang Hao was even stronger than towards Whitebeard. But what made Kaido even more angry? As Yang Hao appeared, the rest of the beast pirates also moved. Not only Jin, but also Quinn, Jack, and the rest of the Lincoln Six came to stand behind Yang Hao. What they mean is self-evident. In the conflict between the two beast pirates talkers, they obviously decided to support Yang Hao. This scene made Kaido's eyes burst with tears. Everyone around was also stunned. To be honest, after the news of Yang Hao killing Big Mom came out, many people had a keen premonition that there would be a conflict between Yang Hao and Kaido. After all, one mountain cannot hide two tigers, but when they think about it, the plot of the conflict should be Yang Hao fighting against the entire beast pirates, or simply rebelling against the beast pirates. After all, Kaido has been running the beast pirates for many years. Even if Yang Hao has enough strength, he should not be able to compete with Kaido for the leadership of the beast pirates. Jin, in particular, is notoriously loyal and devoted to Kaido. Who would rebel? He would not. But now, what I never expected was Jin, the most loyal subordinate to Kaido, actually came to support Yang Hao. And this move seemed to cause a chain reaction, causing the entire beast pirates to side with Yang Hao. Kaido, who was supposed to lead the beast pirates, became a loner instead. This situation is really incredible. So at this moment, the fighting on the execution platform came to a standstill, and everyone was paying attention to Yang Hao and Kaido. It is conceivable that there will definitely be a shocking battle next, because Kaido cannot accept such a situation. Sure enough, Kaido suddenly looked up to the sky and laughed. Okay, you all chose to side with this B**********, right? If that's the case, then let's die together. As soon as the words fell, a shocking situation occurred. Kaido's figure began to grow rapidly, and his face began to distort. In the blink of an eye, a blue giant dragon appeared on the spot. After Kaido transformed into a giant dragon, without saying a word, he opened his mouth towards the gathered Yang Hao. The red light surged and the intense flames instantly turned into a towering pillar of fire, spraying out from the dragon's mouth. Hot breath. In an instant, intense red light filled the entire battlefield above. The pillar of fire rushed towards Yang Hao with astonishing high temperature. Feeling the power of this attack, Jin, Quinn and others were shocked in their hearts. Yang Hao, the leader, also laughed. Ha ha ha, Kaido, I remember the rules you set. Whoever is stronger will get the upper hand, right? In this case, if I defeat you, I will be the captain of the beast pirates from now on, right? Saying this, Yang Hao's huge hands began to close together. The terrifying power in his body quickly condensed. Turtle-style Qigong. The next second, just as the pillar of fire was about to attack, Yang Hao pushed out with both hands, and a terrifying white shockwave shot up into the sky. This destined battle of the top powerhouses has officially begun. Chapter 233 Whitebeard's Appreciation, Garp takes action. Boom. There was a loud bang. In midair, giant red and white pillars collided violently. The terrifyingly high temperature instantly melted the surrounding ice. A large amount of gravel and ice chips were rolled back and blown away by the power. The whole world was divided into red and white in an instant. The terrifying fluctuations made everyone pay attention. When they first saw Kaido spitting out a pillar of fire, most people were shocked and even a little scared. Such an attack is truly astonishing. If it falls on the ground, not only Yang Hao and others will suffer, but even the surrounding area several kilometers away will be razed to the ground. The ice battlefield created by Aokiji may also dissolve. At that time, there will be no benefit to both the pirates and the marines. Fortunately, at the critical moment, Yang Hao actually launched a similar attack. But what is shocking is that the white shockwave triggered by Yang Hao, after initially stalemate with the fire pillar, actually rolled through the fire pillar and hit the giant dragon. What? Kaido's huge dragon eyes shrank, and then a strong pain surged in his head. The dragon's breath was suddenly interrupted, and Kaido's entire huge body was swept away by the white shockwave. Seeing this scene, Quinn and others standing behind Yang Hao were all refreshed. Although they are all rough-skinned and fleshy beings, they are not sure that they will be unscathed by Kaido's hot breath. But now, Yang Hao not only protected them, but even attacked Kaido severely. This made them all happy. As for Jin, he was not too happy, but his footsteps standing behind Yang Hao were always unwavering. Boss Yang Hao is mighty, well done, Boss Yang Hao. Defeat Kaido, Boss Yang Hao. Afterwards, Quinn, Jack and others cheered for Yang Hao. They also heard what Yang Hao said just now. Yes, the beast pirates follow the rules of whoever does what they do. According to this rule, if Yang Hao defeats Kaido, then Yang Hao will be the real boss of the beast pirates from now on. You go somewhere else, leave this evil dragon to me. Hearing Quinn and others cheering and getting up, Yang Hao smiled, and then the huge figure flew out. This situation was exactly what he deliberately created. After what happened just now, I believe that the entire beast pirates have completely surrendered to him. Including Jin. Of course, if he wants to completely control the beast pirates, he has to do one last thing. That is, defeat Kaido. There was a bang. A strong wind rose, and Yang Hao quickly caught up with the giant dragon in midair and fought fiercely with it. Seeing the two people fighting in midair, everyone had different expressions. Here, Whitebeard was already smiling. Looking at Yang Hao, the strongest man in the world couldn't help but praise. What a good boy, you are really impressive. As an old-timer, Whitebeard still inevitably looks down on people who are much younger than him. Even if the other party is not weaker than yourself. But Yang Hao's performance repeatedly broke Whitebeard's cognition. The courage to make a deal with himself before, and now the domineering attitude to conflict with Kaido. These circumstances all show that Yang Hao is a very remarkable young man. At this moment, Whitebeard's evaluation of Yang Hao was even higher than that of Red Hair. Marco and others also smiled. Yang Hao is really reliable. This time they were able to find such an ally, and the long-standing situation seemed to be greatly alleviated. Maybe, they can really save Ace. No, they can definitely be rescued. Yang Hao's performance also greatly increased the morale of the Whitebeard pirates. At this time, Luffy's eyes couldn't help but be attracted by the battle in midair. That one is a dragon, right? But the man named Yang Hao is very handsome. The way Yang Hao protected Jin and others made Luffy agree with him. Even if he transformed into a ferocious giant ape, he still looked very handsome in his eyes. It seems that he has also experienced this situation of standing up to fight the evil dragon for the sake of his friends. Hey, Straw Hat Boy, don't be in a daze, come with me to rescue Ace. At this moment, a majestic voice came from Luffy's ears. Luffy was startled and looked around, only to realize that Whitebeard had cleared away a large number of marines and came to him. It turned out that without Kaido to stop him, Whitebeard also headed towards the execution platform. Although most of the marines came to stop them, they were all knocked away by him. In the blink of an eye, Whitebeard caught up with Luffy's progress. Because of Yang Hao, Whitebeard no longer looked down upon young people like Luffy too much, but his attitude became better. When Luffy heard this, he naturally nodded without thinking. Okay. Then, one old and one young began to charge towards the execution platform. Marco and others were not idle either. Without the restraints of these people, Marine's pressure suddenly increased. Under the influence of the fruit shearing ability, the solid ground was cut open, and began to sway like flowing cloth. What? This Marine hero finally takes action. The battlefield is so big, I don't know where they went. Marine lieutenant generals almost came out in full force, but they could not stop the defeat. This old figure is none other than Garp. Aokiji and Kizaru couldn't paddle anymore and became a little more serious. There was only one Marine general left, who couldn't stop Marco and the others. Akainu didn't say anything, and instantly turned into magma and surge. But the next second, Ace's expression changed again. So, soon, the pirates advanced to the vicinity of the execution platform. Bang! Under the cover of everyone, Luffy even approached first. Warring States saw something was wrong and quickly shouted orders. Not to mention, there are Jinbei, Katakuri and others. The old figure who had been beside him suddenly flew out. This magical scene made the surrounding Marines stunned. Hold them off and don't let them get close to the execution platform. Compared with the original work, he has many fewer obstacles. So they also disappeared on the edge of the battlefield and watched from the sidelines. The stone bridge shook and the old figure fell in front of Luffy. The next moment, under the operation of lightning, a 200 to 300 meter long stone bridge suddenly appeared between the ground and the execution platform. When Yang Hao and Kaido were confronting each other just now, Badger's and other Blackbeard's men also took the opportunity to retreat. Luffy's face suddenly changed wildly. Grandpa. Not to mention the other low-level marine generals. Especially when Jin, Quinn and others also joined the battle. Ace looked at Luffy, who was getting closer, and looked stunned. At this moment, the Revolutionary Army's lightning strike took effect. Luffy. As for the King of Evil and others, it is naturally impossible to really oppose Whitebeard, especially now that Blackbeard and Kaido have had troubles one after another. Marco and others stopped paying attention and began to assist Whitebeard again. But just one Whitebeard requires 2 marine generals to deal with it. Seeing this, Luffy perked up, stepped on the stone bridge, crossed marine faster, and rushed towards the execution platform. The huge momentum almost caused the stone bridge to collapse. Chapter 234 The confrontation between grandfather and grandson, the dragon throwing at the critical moment. Marine hero, take action. Almost everyone was shocked. Even Whitebeard couldn't help but frown. Even he didn't dare to underestimate this sea-fixing needle in marine. But the one who had the biggest reaction was Luffy. Grandfather. He yelled, his face anxious. Grandpa, get out of the way. Garp stood on the stone bridge with a stern expression. Hearing Luffy's call, he immediately roared. Can't do it. Straw Hat Boy, isn't this the path you want to take? From the moment you became a pirate, you were destined to be hostile to me. Don't you even have this awareness? If you want to save Ace, then kill me. Garp's whole body was full of energy and his momentum was astonishing. Grandfather. Luffy's face suddenly showed a look of difficulty. You want to save your brother, but you want to kill your grandfather. This situation was simply a dilemma for him. Warring States, who had arrived at the execution platform not far away, also stared closely at this side. Garp. He knew that this was also a very difficult time for his old friend. Ace, who was kneeling next to him, looked at the confrontation between his grandfather and grandson with a complex expression on his face. He finally understood the suffering in Garp's heart. This confrontation between stance and family affection is simply more uncomfortable than killing a person. Just looking at his friends who were still fighting hard on the field, Ace suddenly felt relieved. He has no regrets about becoming a pirate. He seems to have found the meaning of living. As of now, no matter what the outcome is, he will accept it calmly. If there is still a chance to embrace freedom, Ace will never feel sorry for himself again. If he died like this, he would have no regrets. At this moment, Ace's eyes became firm. On the contrary, Garp's eyes gradually became blank. Especially as Luffy gets closer. In a daze, he seemed to see Luffy when he was a child, calling for Grandpa with an innocent look on his face. The next moment, Garp and Luffy punched at the same time. Everyone around him stopped and looked over subconsciously. Whitebeard also watched silently. To be honest, he was a little strange from the beginning of the war. Why has Garp, such a belligerent guy, never taken action? But now, he seems to understand. This kid wearing a straw hat turned out to be Garp's grandson. Ace and Garp actually have such a connection. Although it was very inappropriate, Whitebeard also felt a little lucky. If this is the case, maybe Luffy can really rescue Ace. There is no doubt that in order to rescue Ace, we need to break through several levels. The first level is exactly 100,000 marine soldiers. But this level was coated by their ships and broke through directly. The second level is naturally the 3 marine generals. This is not difficult. The current 3 marine generals are all held back by them. The rest are the 7 warlords of the sea and the lieutenant generals and major generals. But these people are either not strong enough, or they are just playing tricks on themselves, so there is nothing to worry about. On the contrary, the existence of Garp in the Warring States period is an insurmountable mountain. Forget about the Warring States period, he commanded the army and was unlikely to personally stop it. On the other hand, Garp, with him around, it was completely difficult to get close to the execution platform. If Whitebeard takes action himself, it is possible to break through. But he also wants to contain the 3 generals of Marine and not make any moves. Originally, Whitebeard wanted to give this task to Yang Hao. Because with his power, it is possible to break through Garp's blockade. But now, because of Kaido, Yang Hao is no longer free. So just now, Whitebeard was still a little worried about who should fill this vacancy. But now, he suddenly realized that there was no more suitable candidate than Luffy. He is not very powerful, but he is Garp's blood relative. Facing his blood relatives, will he really take action with all his strength? The answer is, no. At the critical moment, Garp's eyes flashed back to Luffy's childhood appearance, and his firm fist suddenly became sluggish. Luffy didn't stop, and slammed his fist into Garp's face. Bang! Garp flew out and then fell into the ground. Grandfather. Luffy shouted, a little surprised, but he didn't care and rushed towards Ace quickly. Kapu. Warring State's face darkened and he suddenly understood something. Ace's face was full of astonishment, and then he looked at Luffy getting closer and closer, with a dull look on his face. Ta-ta-ta. The sound of rapid footsteps came. The next moment, under Ace's shocked gaze, Luffy stepped onto the execution platform and officially stood in front of him. Ace. Luffy grinned. Ace was completely stunned. I brought the key too. Luffy smiled and pulled out a key. This time, Kizaru didn't have time to knock off Luffy's key. But at this moment, a golden light suddenly rose. The Warring States period still did not sit idly by and turned into a huge golden Buddha in the golden light. Why? Luffy was about to unlock Ace's door when his expression suddenly changed. Ace was also horrified. They saw the golden Buddha suddenly raising its fist like a mountain and striking towards them. It's Kaido. At this critical moment, an unexpected situation occurred. Buzz. The Pirate Empress shouted. During this period, Kaido let out a scream, and finally hit the golden Buddha heavily. Everyone took a closer look and were surprised to find that it was a 1,000-meter giant dragon. Marco and others were also anxious. Luffy's expression suddenly changed wildly. A strong sound breaking through the air suddenly came. If not Yang Hao, who else? Even though we have arrived in front of Ace, are we still going to fail? At the critical moment, Kaido flew over. If he turns into a balloon, he can't unlock Ace. Just like that, the crisis between Luffy and Ace was resolved. Straw Hat Luffy, Fire Fist Ace, you two evil bloods, I will execute them myself. Due to the long distance, no one can provide support to Luffy. Then he looked in the direction Kaido was flying from. Ah. When Whitebeard not far away saw this, his eyes flashed and he asked for remote support. From the horizon in the distance, a huge object suddenly shot towards me. Warring States was shocked. Before his fist could hit him, the huge figure was suddenly knocked away. Kaido didn't fly over, but flew upside down, and at an extremely fast speed. A behemoth appeared again, but this time, it was a giant ape covered in golden hair and emitting steam. But at this moment, Akainu roared, but soon, everyone discovered something was wrong. In other words, at the critical moment, Yang Hao actually threw Kaido over and solved the crisis of the Luffy brothers. Whitebeard, stay back, Dark Hound, what to do? If he continued to unlock Ace, he wouldn't be able to block the fist. What? With a roar, the magma surged, actually interrupting Whitebeard's move and knocking it back. Everyone was immediately shocked. A roar like a bell came from the mouth of the giant Buddha. The huge golden fist pressed down. Luffy, Chapter 235 Ace Freedom, the wonderful effect of eye enhancement. Looking at the Warring States Buddha and Kaido dragon flying out, a smile appeared on Yang Hao's ferocious face. Haha, it seems that my throwing skills are not new yet. Then he turned to the two stunned brothers on the execution platform and reminded. Why are you stunned? Why don't you help your brother out quickly? Luffy heard this, reacted, and hurriedly opened the door for Ace. A Marine general under the execution platform hurriedly ordered. Fire at the execution platform and never let Fire Fist Ace escape. Boom. A cannonball flew out immediately. The execution platform suddenly burst into flames. When everyone saw this, their expressions suddenly tightened. But the next second, as the fire dissipated, the execution platform was safe and sound. The giant ape transformed by Yang Hao was like a thick city wall, protecting the execution platform. The surrounding Marines were immediately dumbfounded. But at this moment, a huge golden figure rushed towards him in midair. Yang Hao, this is not a place where you can act wild. Big Buddha impact. Sengoku, who was knocked away by Kaido, regained his balance and headed towards the execution platform. Before it came, he raised his giant palm and struck this side from a distance. Boom. A terrifying shock wave suddenly swept over like an overwhelming mountain. The terrifying power caused another disturbance to Luffy. Yang Hao slowly took a step forward in midair, clenched his huge hands into fists, and seemed to push out very quickly. The secret of the 6 styles, the 6 Kings Spear. Boom. The moment the shockwave hit, a terrifying force burst out between Yang Hao's fists. The two translucent impacts collided in midair, then collided and offset each other. Warring State's expression suddenly changed. He had no mercy for this blow, but he didn't expect it to be resisted by Yang Hao. Yang Hao resisted the attacks one after another, apparently buying enough time for Luffy. At this moment, there was a snap. Luffy shouted in surprise. Okay. Ace was startled and his hands were free again. The power of recovery in his body made him stunned. But at this moment, a red light suddenly bloomed in the sky. The 1,000-meter giant dragon came to kill again, spitting out the world-destroying dragon breath. Rumble. The towering pillar of fire rolled down and instantly enveloped the execution platform. Ace, Marco and others not far away were suddenly shocked. Whitebeard couldn't help but frown. Warring States didn't take any more action, but just watched silently. But the next second, Seng Guo's face became ugly. The expressions of the people around him became strange. The towering pillar of fire crashed down, and the execution platform instantly turned into a sea of fire. But in the sea of fire, a bright yellow flame suddenly burst out. The flow of flames actually opened up a passage in the sea of fire. In the passage, two brothers supported each other and came out. It was Luffy and Ace. Ace. Luffy's cry of surprise spread throughout the audience. Ace was all smiles. Luffy, you have never listened to me since you were a child, and you are still so willful now, but this time, I really thank you. The flames expanded, instantly bringing a surge of power, allowing Ace to bring Luffy to the earth. Bang! At this moment, the whole place fell into silence. The faces of the Marines all became extremely ugly. Fire Fist Ace, out of trouble, Marco and others looked overjoyed. Ace. Ace is rescued. Well done, Ace's brother. The corners of Whitebeard's mouth also tilted up slightly, revealing a smile. Then there was a flash of light in his eyes, and he waved Kong Yunki violently, making a bold move. Rumble. The ground was immediately lifted up, and Aokiji in front of him was also blown away. Children, Ace has been rescued, prepare to retreat. As soon as the words fell, Whitebeard fought forward even more bravely and vigorously. The pirates cheered and their morale increased greatly. Then the bell-like sound of the Warring States period sounded. Don't panic, everyone. The Whitebeard pirates are still here. As long as they are wiped out, the winner of this war will still be Ace Marine. Fire Fist Ace, don't even think about leaving. As soon as Warring States finished speaking, the huge golden body pressed towards Ace. Just the next second, he was blocked by a huge furry figure. Yang Hao. When Ace saw this scene, he suddenly showed gratitude again. He knew that he was able to get out of trouble, in addition to the efforts of the Whitebeard pirates, Luffy and others. This man who had been in the limelight recently also had a lot of credit. Brother Orangutan, let's go together. When Luffy saw this, he also shouted. Brother Gorilla, this is the nickname he gave Yang Hao. Yang Hao was speechless when he heard this. Don't worry about me. You two brothers should go back there first. I can't leave now. In addition to blocking Sengoku, he also has to deal with Kaido, who can easily retreat. As for Ace and Luffy's subsequent safety issues, he is not worried. Whitebeard's current condition is much better than in the original work. With the strong men he brought, Ace and Luffy will definitely be fine. And now, since Ace is fine, he should be able to fight with peace of mind. Thinking of this, Yang Hao raised his head and looked towards the sky. As Yang Hao said, he really can leave now. Kaido blew out a stream of hot breath. After seeing that it had no effect, he flew down from midair fiercely, aiming directly at Yang Hao. Ace and Luffy are safe, but Yang Hao seems to be in a crisis of siege by two top powerhouses. However, Yang Hao didn't care at all. Just now he had to implement the plan to save Ace, but he never fought with all his strength. But now that everything is done, he can unleash his true power with all his strength. You know, before coming to fight the war, Yang Hao spent several billions. With so much money thrown at him, the increase in his power is not just as simple as what he showed before. Just like this moment, Yang Hao suddenly raised his head and looked high into the sky, looking for traces of the moon. He suddenly planned to superimpose the Moon Lion state on top of the Heart Strengthening and Monster Strengthening state. It is a pity that although the war on the top has been going on for a long time, it has not yet reached night. So Yang Hao looked up and didn't see the moon. Speaking of which, this is also one of the drawbacks of Moon Lion's transformation. The power can only be activated during the full moon period. But Yang Hao knew that the moon had always existed, it was just invisible during the day. So, is there any way to see the moon during the day? Of course there is. For example, when the sun is going down. Another example is that your eyesight becomes super good and you can see the moon. In view of this, Yang Hao also found a way to solve the disadvantages of Moon Lion's transformation. At this moment, his originally large eyes became larger again, like a pair of huge copper bells. This is exactly what it takes to strengthen your eyes. With the help of this enhanced state, Yang Hao's eyes suddenly penetrated the clouds and saw the moon that was always hanging in the sky. Ever since, when Kaido flew down, another change appeared on Yang Hao. The hair all over his body grew wildly, turning from gold to white, and his height suddenly soared, reaching 20 meters. A pair of eyes became scarlet and cold. Boom! The next second, Sengoku and Kaido attacked at the same time, but they were steadily resisted by Yang Hao, who had 3 superimposed states. In the world of pirates, it seems that no one has ever been able to deal with 2 top powerhouses at the same time with ease. But feeling the crazy expansion and surge of power in his body at this time, Yang Hao felt he could do it. Chapter 236 Yang Hao beat Kaido violently with 1 against 2. On top of the battlefield, with Ace out of trouble, the battle clearly reached its climax. Marines rushed over one after another, trying to intercept Ace and Luffy. The Whitebeard pirates and others also cheered up and prepared to assist Ace. However, at the location of the execution platform, a shocking contest was also unfolding. Warring States and Kaido both killed Yang Hao in unison. The attack of the 2 top powerhouses attracted everyone's attention. Jin, Katakuri and others couldn't help but feel worried when they saw this. Whitebeard is currently facing off against two top powerhouses at the same time. But it is obvious that even Whitebeard is a little reluctant. Even a veteran top powerhouse like Whitebeard would find it difficult to do so. It is conceivable that a new top player like Yang Hao would be able to achieve this. But then, something unexpected happened. The combined attack of Warring States and Kaido was actually resisted by Yang Hao. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. Warring States and Kaido, on the other hand, shrank their pupils and looked at Yang Hao with some surprise. 20 meters tall, with scarlet eyes, flying white hair, and a surge of momentum all over his body, there was even a hint of lightning moving around. What does this look like? Warring States' thoughts began to change rapidly. To be honest, he was surprised to see Yang Hao turn into a giant ape. After all, as far as he knew, Yang Hao was just an ordinary ape fruit. But now, forget it, Yang Hao has transformed into a giant ape, and now he has turned into a bigger white-haired giant ape. The frequent changes in form made him surprised. Is the information wrong? Yang Hao is not an ordinary animal type, but a fantasy beast type. Kaido also frowned at this time, vaguely feeling that Yang Hao's transformation was somewhat familiar. It seems to be somewhat similar to the Moon Lion transformation of the Fur Tribe. But then, neither Sengoku nor Kaido had time to think too much. All because at this time, Yang Hao suddenly moved. There was a sizzling sound. The electric current surged at the scene, and Yang Hao's figure was swept up by the strong wind and disappeared in an instant in front of a Buddha and a dragon. Both of them were shocked. The next second, Yang Hao's figure appeared in midair. As soon as he appeared, his feet started dancing like a whirlwind. Invincible Hot Wheels. Huge Saiyan slashes came down with a bang. The whole process is completed almost instantly. When Sengoku and Kaido looked up, blue light, like the rolling waves of the Milky Way, had already plummeted down. Boom! The ground collapsed instantly. Sengoku and Kaido's huge bodies were suddenly suppressed. Subconsciously, they activated their arm domineering energy to cover their whole bodies. But it wasn't of much use. He was instantly defeated by those huge sharp blue lights. The severe pain made both Sengoku and Kaido scream. The next moment, an impact burst out. Buddha impact. The blue light that filled the sky was finally lifted up. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Kaido's figure flashed out, came into the air, instantly transformed into a human form, and rushed towards Yang Hao. Thunder 8 trigrams. Kaido shouted loudly, swung the mace again, wrapped it with lightning, and smashed it out with astonishing power. As a result, Yang Hao pressed with one hand, ignoring the thunder and lightning, and directly blocked the mace. What? Kaido's pupils shrank suddenly, and he twitched subconsciously, unable to draw the mace. Just when he was shocked, Yang Hao moved again. Grabbing the mace, he turned his figure upside down and kicked Kaido's head hard with his big foot. Electric current swept through, and domineering energy surged. Boom! The terrifying power came, and Kaido couldn't hold onto the mace, and he flew backwards. After knocking Kaido away, Yang Hao threw his mace and disappeared in a flash of electricity. The next second, Kaido, who was flying in the air, was stunned. Electricity flashed around him, and Yang Hao's huge white-haired figure actually caught up with him. Mix. Kaido was about to curse angrily when a white-haired divine fist hit him in the abdomen, interrupting his words. Bang! Kaido's body was knocked away again, but this is just the beginning. Yang Hao's figure, wrapped in strong wind and lightning, kept spinning around. Every flash can cause a heavy blow to Kaido. A strong sound of hitting spread. Kaido can't even touch the ground. This scene looks like Bellamy is using the spring fruit to keep bouncing back and forth. But Yang Hao was faster and kept hitting hard. Ever since, in the eyes of everyone, Kaido's figure turned into a phantom. And Yang Hao turned into a white-haired electric light, spinning crazily around. Warring States here had just neutralized the green light slashing attack. When he looked up, he was stunned. At this time, Kaido was actually beaten by Yang Hao. This situation also shocked everyone around him. Apart from being shocked, Kaido felt extremely angry. He couldn't just sit back and watch Yang Hao beat up Kaido, otherwise he would be in trouble. Even Whitebeard is no exception. The people present could not help but be stunned when they saw this. After the shocking loud noise, what kind of power is this? Although he did not completely suppress Sengoku and Kaido. Because such crushing situations rarely happen among top experts. As top powerhouses, they all know that at this level, the gap in strength between everyone is actually very small. And Kaido has no power to fight back, and this is also the reason why there are very few top experts who can fight 1 against 2. The real top experts are mostly hexagonal warriors with almost no flaws. But now, Yang Hao has done it. Yang Hao is actually beating up Kaido. He has never encountered such a situation since he left the Rocks Pirates and became independent. Did you read that right? When Yang Hao saw this, the corner of his mouth curled up, and he was about to continue the abuse when he suddenly stopped attacking and hid behind Kaido. Then, there was a boom. But now, Yang Hao's performance seems to have broken the rules. It turned out that Warring States couldn't stand it any longer, so he struck another giant Buddha impact. At this moment, a terrifying shockwave came from the side. Kaido, who had eaten most of the shock, turned his eyes white, felt dizzy, and started to vomit blood. Upon realizing this, Kaido was also greatly shocked. But precisely because of this, the difference in everyone's strength will not be very big. Get away. But now, judging from how he beat Kaido, it seems that it's not much different. Kaido now is clearly crushed by him. Even against Whitebeard, he was only slightly suppressed. He roared angrily, Conqueror's domineering energy burst out, and at the same time, his figure skyrocketed and turned into a 1,000-meter dragon again. Even the top experts were distracted for a moment. But he didn't care about Kaido's intention, and blasted towards both of them at the same time. But now, he is actually being beaten by Yang Hao, a newcomer. Kaido didn't have time to notice, but Yang Hao reacted in time. Kaido happened to transform into a dragon, so he took advantage of it and used it as a shield. This is the same as what Yang Hao thought before. Yang Hao was still safe and sound, and then he looked at the approaching warring states, smiled wickedly, and grabbed Kaido's tail. Chapter 237. Fire Dragon Torch assists. Yang Hao is so resistant. Warring States period Fleet Admiral is also suppressed. There was a bang. The huge golden Buddha attacked Yang Hao again. When Yang Hao saw this, he immediately showed a wicked smile and grabbed Kaido's tail. Without saying a word, he swung Kaido's dragon body like a hammer and smashed it towards Sengoku. What? Warring States was startled and crossed his arms to resist. The golden arms are also painted in pitch black color. But even so, after a loud bang, the huge figure of Warring States was pushed back a big step, and at the same time pain came from his arm. Kaido doesn't feel well either. The feeling of dizziness became more intense, and there was also pain in my body. Haha, this weapon seems pretty good. When Yang Hao saw this, he smiled. The original thought of using Kaido as a weapon was just a sudden thought. But now it seems that this weapon seems pretty good. Thinking like this, Yang Hao's figure suddenly flew up, and then he picked up Kaido's dragon body and smashed it towards the Warring States period. Once, twice, 3 times. The golden Buddha transformed from the Warring States period immediately retreated step by step. Kaido reacted and quickly activated his armed haki. But in this way, Yang Hao's attack power was increased, making the Warring States period very embarrassed. Damn, big Buddha impact. Warring States cursed secretly and struck out the Buddha's palm again, creating a terrifying shockwave. But before it could reach Yang Hao's side, he swung Kaido's dragon body and blocked it. Yang Hao was still unscathed, but Kaido had blood oozing from the corner of his mouth. A hole, let lousy go, and this blow also woke Kaido up. He finally understood that the important thing now was not to display his domineering power, but to break free from Yang Hao first. He subconsciously tried his best, but it had no effect at all. Yang Hao's big white-haired hands were like huge iron pliers, making it impossible for him to break free. After being unable to break away even if he was dead or alive, Kaido became angry. Damn B****************, if you don't want to let go, then don't let go. Fire Dragon Torch. Kaido roared angrily and activated the flame energy in his body again. But this time, he did not turn into a monstrous dragon's breath and spit it out. Instead, it spread and swept through the body. In the blink of an eye, Kaido's blue dragon body turned red obviously, and in the blink of an eye, it turned even redder. Feeling the changes in his body, Kaido's eyes showed a trace of amusement. After performing this move, his body temperature will become extremely high, almost comparable to magma. In this case, Yang Hao will definitely let go. Tisk, tisk, it turned into a fire stick, just right. However, something unexpected happened to Kaido. After his body became extremely hot, it didn't make Yang Hao let go. Regarding this situation, Yang Hao actually looked a little happy. Kaido was startled, and before he had time to think about it, he immediately felt the world spinning again. Yang Hao suddenly grabbed him in the state of the Fire Dragon Torch and threw it towards the Warring States period again. Kaido's Fire Dragon Torch did not hurt Yang Hao, but instead caused great harm to the Warring States period. Boom! Warring States was repelled again, and a huge burn suddenly appeared on the body of the Golden Buddha statue. Hiss! The severe pain made Zheng Guo take a breath. Although his Renren fruit Buddha form is very powerful, it actually has weaknesses. Although he is powerful, he is not very fast. While the defense is strong, it is also afraid of fire. So Kaido, who was under the Fire Dragon's torch, brought him huge harm. Next, seeing Kaido attack again, Sengoku's eyes flashed with fear, and he no longer dared to fight head-on. Instead, he used the giant Buddha to attack and distanced himself. But this way, he couldn't deal with Yang Hao. Kaido took another impact and vomited blood, but what shocked him the most was the fact that Yang Hao was holding him safe and sound. You know, even the Warring States period had to retreat. What happened to Yang Hao? Yang Hao was not surprised by this. At this time, he couldn't help but think of the situation of spending money to practice these days. In the days before the Ding Shang War, his main goal of training was to strengthen his body. However, in terms of physical fitness, Yang Hao also seemed to have encountered a bottleneck. Strengthening the gastrointestinal tract and simple exercise have little or even very little effect on improving physical fitness. So much so that Ace and Luffy successfully escaped the marine siege and reunited with Whitebeard and others. That was the lightning-forged body he had accidentally discovered before. Marco and others gathered around one after another. The pirates were also amazed. Although it will gradually become ineffective as the resistance increases, the overall effect is still stronger than gastrointestinal strengthening and ordinary exercise. These methods are also effective and the results are good. Ace. Seeing this situation, everyone was stunned. For example, flame body forging, frost body forging. When Whitebeard saw Ace coming back to him, a smile appeared on his serious face. Ace's eyes were a little moist, and he had thousands of words to say, but they were stuck in his throat. At the same time, it was also the reason why he was able to ignore the temperature of Kaido's fire dragon torch at this time. Ever since, after Kaido, the Warring States period was also beaten by Yang Hao. Sure enough, as he expected. At first, Yang Hao only used it to increase lightning resistance. Later, he discovered that thunder and lightning body forging can strengthen the body, and the effect is not bad. The Marines were shocked. Up to now, his lightning resistance, fire resistance, frost resistance, and even slash resistance have all reached astonishing levels. Aren't you dazzled? The Warring States period fleet admiral was also suppressed by that Yang Hao. Oh my god, this guy is too strong, isn't he? Fortunately, this method can also be applied to other elements. Dad. So later, Yang Hao had to take other measures. So at this time, Kaido's release of the fire dragon torch did not cause any trouble to Yang Hao. It was equivalent to giving him an assist. Yang Hao's performance also greatly affected the morale of both parties. I began to understand why Auntie lost to him. This guy is also a complete monster. This is also normal. As his body becomes stronger and stronger, the effects of ordinary conventional methods will naturally become smaller or even disappear. Blackbeard appeared again and immediately cast a malicious look at Whitebeard. At this moment, in a corner of the battlefield, the Blackbeard pirates gathered together again. In this way, as he continued to use this method, Yang Hao's body continued to strengthen and his various resistances also continued to improve. Let alone this kind of temperature, even real magma might not be able to hurt Yang Hao. However, as Yang Hao's lightning resistance became stronger and stronger, the effectiveness of this method began to be greatly reduced. Ever since, Yang Hao also started experimenting with these methods. And these are the reasons why he was able to easily resist the three marine generals just now. Among them is Blackbeard, who was driven into the ground by Whitebeard just now. Chapter 238 Unwilling Blackbeard retreats. Captain, are you okay? Badgers looked at the embarrassed Blackbeard and asked with some concern. When Blackbeard heard this, his face suddenly turned dark. Just now he was punched in the face by Whitebeard, how could he be okay? When he fell into the ground, he fainted, okay. That is to say, after he calmed down, he used the dark acupoints and escaped from the ground again with the help of Badgers and others. But after escaping from the underground, Blackbeard was a little dumbfounded when he saw the battle situation. Ace has actually been rescued and reunited with Whitebeard and others. And the group of people he brought out from the Impel City retreated to the edge of the battlefield, looking like they were just pretending to be soy sauce. Except Kaido. It's just that Kaido is not in a good situation at this time. He actually became that Yang Hao's weapon. Seeing this, Blackbeard's face suddenly became extremely ugly. Yes, we agreed to deal with Whitebeard together. To be honest, Blackbeard was indeed ambitious before. After all, this time, Marine wants to annihilate Whitebeard. The three generals of Marine, Garp, Sengoku and others, these forces could have eliminated Whitebeard. Coupled with people like them, even if Whitebeard is the strongest man in the world, he may not be able to escape. But what Blackbeard never expected was, when it comes to real fighting, it's not like this at all. He was knocked unconscious by Whitebeard's punch just now. And of those people who were clamoring to kill Whitebeard just now, none of them took action. Whitebeard is still fine now. Marine too. Is he taking it seriously? Why is Whitebeard still alive and kicking now? Even Ace was rescued. Speaking of which, it was actually Blackbeard who had wronged these people. Marine really wanted to kill Whitebeard, but he couldn't do anything. If two Marine generals besieged it, it should be possible. But every moment, there is intrusion from the captain, and it is impossible to deal with it with peace of mind. As for Kaido, the King of Evil and others, the King of Evil and others are indeed rowing. But Kaido really wanted to kill Whitebeard, and he did just that. But later on, Yang Hao attracted his attention, so that he could no longer take the time. That's why at this moment, Blackbeard saw that Whitebeard was still alive and well and active on the battlefield. Seeing this situation, Blackbeard's face turned completely dark. Only then did he realize that his previous thinking was a bit simplistic. It is worth mentioning, he also knew very well about Whitebeard's physical condition. I originally thought that under such circumstances, it would be no problem to gather so many high-level combat forces to deal with Whitebeard and seize his shock fruit ability. But now, Blackbeard feels that there is little hope. Realizing that nothing could be done, Blackbeard suddenly wanted to quit. His original plan was to seize the shock fruit, then destroy Malinfondo, and completely establish his name as Blackbeard. But now, without the Junjen fruit, his strength naturally cannot reach the top level. Not to mention destroying Malinfondo and shocking the heroes. Withdraw. Thinking of this, Blackbeard immediately issued an order to retreat. Naturally, Badgers and others had no objections. During the period of Blackbeard's decline, they also witnessed the development of the battlefield. Now they also understand that if they don't capture the power of the Junjen fruit, they won't be able to influence the situation of the battle. If we stay here any longer, there may be a possibility of the entire army being annihilated. After all, strictly speaking, both Marine and the Whitebeard pirates would want to deal with them if they had free time. Just hearing Blackbeard's words, Shiryu of the Rain did not move. The King of Evil and others also had different expressions. Teach, I said before that if the plan fails, we will break up, right? Shiryu of Rain took a deep breath from his cigar and said. Hearing this, Blackbeard frowned. If we take them away, we don't know what trouble will happen. Blackbeard was startled, turned his head and looked, and really saw a huge pirate ship. Captain, look here, there is a ship, it's a pirate ship. Blackbeard heard this, but he was not too happy, as long as he finds another powerful devil fruit later. Although the plan failed, they also managed to escape, avoiding the revenge of Marine and the Whitebeard pirates. Blackbeard was stunned for a moment, and then his expression changed drastically. Blackbeard looked at the direction of the battlefield, and then secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Yes, everyone takes care of each other, damn. Hearing this, Shiryu's eyes flashed. You don't have to worry about it. The King of Evil and others are not simple. Don't forget, you have betrayed Marine. Do you think Marine will forgive you? Do you also have the same idea as Shiryu of Rain? However, just as Blackbeard was thinking this, Badger's exclamation suddenly came from beside him. After all, in his opinion, the most difficult part of the plan he made was to advance the city to gather strong men on the 6th level. What, after a while? I can't kill Whitebeard this time, I'll look for another chance next time. It's Red Hair and the others, stay away, but now, he doesn't have much confidence that he can suppress these unruly guys. Shiryu of Rain did say this before, but he didn't take it seriously. Hearing Blackbeard's voice, Badgers, as the helmsman, didn't say anything and immediately controlled the warship's steering to avoid the huge pirate ship. If he succeeds in seizing the Junjen fruit, he is confident that these guys will surrender obediently. After thinking about it, he asked doubtfully, Shiryu, in this case, if you don't come with me, where else can you go? But Rain of Shiryu's unwillingness to leave with him still surprised Blackbeard. From this perspective, the situation is not so bad. But what I never expected was that the last, easiest step failed. Blackbeard's face suddenly darkened, and then he looked at the King of Evil and others with different expressions. What about you? Since most of everyone's attention was on Ace and Yang Hao at this time, Blackbeard and others did not encounter any obstruction in their retreat. As long as the correction is successful, killing Whitebeard will be a waste of time. The warship moved away from Marinefondo, and the loud roars that continued to rise over there also became lower. Hearing Blackbeard's question, the King of Evil and others agreed without too much hesitation. We must be with you. The pirate flag above is a skull with 2 swords, and there are 3 scars on the corners of the skull's eyes. Blackbeard cursed secretly, and immediately ignored Shiryu of the Rain. He took Badgers, the King of Evil and others, easily snatched a warship, and quickly fled the battlefield. Chapter 239 The Red Hair arrives at the critical moment. As Blackbeard saw, those on that pirate ship were none other than the red-haired pirates. Just like the original work, the red-haired pirates also got involved in the war on the top. But this time, because they didn't have to intercept Kaido, they arrived at the scene earlier. Naturally, Hongfa and the others noticed the warship that was moving out of the way not far away. The person in charge of the lookout quickly reported to Hongfa Wei, Captain, the person on that warship is Teach. Teach. The red-haired pupil shrank. Mentioning this name, the scars at the corners of his eyes ached with pain. What do you think? Do you want to chase after me? Ben Beckman came over and asked. He is also well aware of the grudge between Red Hair and Blackbeard. The red-haired man didn't speak, he just picked up the telescope and looked towards the warship. Sure enough. That guy Blackbeard is on the warship. In addition, there are many pirates. But forget it about Badgers, Vanoka and others. But the evil king, Zan Yu Hunter and others made the red-haired man frown. How come those guys are with Blackbeard? He's still wearing prison uniform. He should be a prisoner and impelled down. Wait, is this the purpose of Blackbeard? The red-haired man murmured, and suddenly his heart moved. He is someone who knows Blackbeard better. He knew very well that this guy Blackbeard had great ambitions. And this was also the reason why he went to Whitebeard to remind him before going to war. It's a pity that Whitebeard didn't pay attention at that time. In other words, even if Whitebeard cares, it's too late. Ace has been caught. And now seeing Blackbeard mixed with the evil king and others from Impel Down City obviously confirms the red-haired guess. This guy Blackbeard must have a bigger plan to become 7 warlords of the sea. The red-haired man had a hunch that if he didn't restrain Blackbeard, he would definitely grow into a more terrifying existence. However, it seems that now is not the time to get entangled with the other party. After thinking about it, the red-haired man still shook his head. Don't worry about him, go to Malinfondo first. Things are tighter over there. Hearing this, Ben Beckman nodded. Naturally, the rest of the people had no objections. Ever since, I saw the pirate ship continuing to sail towards Marinevando without stopping. Blackbeard not far away also breathed a sigh of relief. Now that he doesn't have the ability to shake the fruit, he has no confidence that he can beat the red hair. Moreover, almost all of them are capable people. In a fight on the sea, the red hair and others will obviously have an advantage. Of course, with their current fighting power, it won't be easy for the red-haired man to defeat them. But now it seems that the other party is in a hurry to get to Malinfondo, so he has no time to pay attention to them. Realizing this, Blackbeard relaxed. Speed up and get out of here. And at the same time, the red-haired man also ordered to speed up and rush to Malinfondo. This time, despite the war, it was still very lively. Seeing Ace, Whitebeard and others gathering, the three marine generals completely exploded. Especially Akainu, enveloped in monstrous magma, crazily killing towards Ace. So far in the battle, although Marine's side is at a disadvantage, the three generals of Marine have not fallen much behind. They have just been entangled by some powerful men at the level of Emperor and Deputy. But now, Akainu finally broke out, forced Katakuri and the others back, and fiercely charged towards Ace and Whitebeard. Whitebeard's face darkened. Ace, Marco, you go first, I'll take the lead. Looking at the rolling lava, Whitebeard stood upright and said to Ace and others without looking back, Daddy. Ace was startled, and immediately wanted to stay and challenge Whitebeard together. But Marco immediately pulled Ace away, although Marco is also worried about Whitebeard. But he also understood that in a battle of this level, no one except Whitebeard could help them cut off the rear. This time, Ace didn't stubbornly stay where he was. After all, he knew very well what Whitebeard and others had paid to save him. If he failed this, he would not be able to forgive himself. Luffy. Let's go. Ace and others left immediately. Akainu did not pursue, because he knew that he would not be able to pursue Ace with Whitebeard's interception. Ever since, he set his target on Whitebeard. Whitebeard, what, are you planning to sacrifice yourself to fulfill your sons? Half of Akainu's body turned into lava, and he silently clenched his fists. When Whitebeard heard this, he immediately grinned. That's wrong, the Magma Kid, I want to kill you alone. After the words fell, Whitebeard raised Kong Yunki high and was about to attack. Akainu's heart trembled, and he immediately prepared himself. But just then, an accident happened. Whitebeard's movements suddenly froze, and a look of pain flashed across his face. Daddy. Although Marco was also retreating, he had been paying attention to Whitebeard. Seeing this situation, I was immediately shocked. Although Whitebeard did not suffer much damage this time, after a long battle, his body still became ill. And it's at such an important moment, Akainu's eyes lit up. There is a flaw. In fact, Marine also has some knowledge about Whitebeard's physical condition. It's just not clear. Now it seems that Whitebeard's health is really not good, and he showed such a flaw at such an important moment. Seize this opportunity and you can hit it hard. Akainu's thoughts changed rapidly, and the movements of his hands were not slow at all. The lava spurted out and exploded with his right fist. Dark Hound. Seeing that Whitebeard's body was about to be pierced by the magma fist, but at this moment, a long sword suddenly penetrated from the side and suddenly blocked Akainu's fist. What? Akainu was startled, looked up, and suddenly a drop of cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Whitebeard was also stunned. Looking at the figure that suddenly appeared next to him, a trace of complexity flashed across his face. Is he already old? He is so old that he needs to be rescued by the kid on Roger's boat. Whitebeard, I didn't expect Ace to be Captain Roger's son, why didn't you tell me? The red-haired man held a sword in one hand and smiled lightly while blocking Akainu's magma fist. Yes, he also just watched the live broadcast and learned about Ace's true identity. Whitebeard snorted and said nothing, but at this time, there were bursts of exclamations on the field because of the red-hair's arrival. Red hair. Another 4 emperors, everyone from the red-haired pirates is here. OMG. The Marines were stunned. The leader of the Warring States period, with a golden Buddha-like face, also became completely gloomy. Originally, this top battle was thought to be just against Whitebeard and the 4 emperors. But now that all the existing 4 emperors are here, how can we still play? Bang. At this moment, Yang Hao dropped Kaido in his hand and clapped his hands. He knew that this war at the top was coming to an end. Chapter 240 The war on top is over. Yang Hao finally got rid of Kaido. The Warring States period did not attack again. And Kaido, after stabilizing his figure, did not immediately trouble Yang Hao. It was because of the red hair's arrival that he realized something. At this moment, the golden Buddha transformed from the Warring States period looked at Hongfa and the others. Red hair. What are you doing here? It is worth mentioning. The Warring States period had already asked people to turn off the live broadcast device. After all, from a certain moment on, this top battlefield is no longer dominated by their marines. More and more powerful pirates appeared, putting Marine at a disadvantage. Such a situation is not conducive to their Marine increasing their influence. But now, even if there is no live broadcast, Warring States knows that the situation here in the future cannot be concealed. This time, Marine, they were in trouble. It's not that they don't have the ability to deal with the Whitebeard pirates. But they can't handle so many strong pirates now, especially with the addition of red hair. The old and new 4 emperors are all gathered together. Marine can't handle this situation at all. At this moment, even without his order, the Marines subconsciously stopped what they were doing. In view of this, the Warring States period naturally had to find out the purpose of the red hair. Talk about it. The red hair and the white beard seem to have some friendship. He also made this clear just now. Red hair and white beard are not only old acquaintances, but also have a close relationship with Ace. In this way, his purpose is probably to help the Whitebeard pirates. Thinking of this, Warring States' heart sank. The original Whitebeard pirates, with the help of a pervert like Yang Hao, became even more powerful and unstoppable. Now even Ace has been rescued. If the red hair also sides with the Whitebeard pirates, I'm afraid Marinevando may really be destroyed by the pirates. Thinking of such consequences, Zhang Guo's face darkened. Good thing. After hearing this, the red-haired man looked around the battlefield and solemnly said, I am here to end this war. After saying this, he looked at Warring States and said, Warring States, since Ace's public execution has failed, then you should admit defeat and stop here. This war has been fought so far, and there is no need to continue it, unless you really want Malinfondo to be destroyed. Of course, if there is anyone who hasn't had enough trouble, feel free to take action. We, the red-haired pirates, can be your opponents. After the words fell, red thunder flashed around the red hair, and the terrifying conqueror's domineering power suddenly swept the entire audience. After everyone sensed it, they were all shocked. The red-haired conqueror's domineering seems to be stronger than Whitebeard, Yang Hao and others. Yang Hao was not surprised. The nickname of the strongest conquerors is not for nothing. In fact, the red hair also restrained itself. Otherwise, with his conqueror's hockey power, if used at full strength, even Marine Vice Admiral can be stunned and Marine General can be shocked. Of course, he doesn't need to do that. Otherwise, they are not here to be peacemakers, but to stir up greater disputes. To be honest, until now, Yang Hao still hasn't understood the red-haired position. To say that he wants to be one piece does not seem to mean that. But to say that he is a member of the world government does not seem like it. Although he is indeed a celestial dragon. But no matter what, Yang Hao is also happy to hear the red hair's current move to stop the war. Now that his goal has been completely achieved, it would be great if he no longer had to fight to the death. As for Warring States, he was secretly relieved when he heard the red hair's words. Fortunately, he is not here to help the Whitebeard pirates. As for calling a halt to the war, in fact, the Warring States period had long had the idea of stopping, especially after being suppressed by Yang Hao just now. He knew that the situation was over for Marine. Even if Red Hair and others don't appear, by the end of this war, Marine will probably not be able to keep Whitebeard and others. After all, in this battle, the performance of their high-level combat power was really a bit underwhelming. Kizaru and Aokiji didn't let go much, but they were stopped by many powerful deputy emperors. As for Akainu, he angrily attacked Whitebeard and fought against Yang Hao, but failed one after another. And Garp, needless to say, is totally out of control. At the end of the day, even if he, the Marine Fleet Admiral, took action personally, he could not reverse the disadvantage. Such a situation naturally means that victory has completely gone away from them. So at this moment, after hearing the Red Hair's words, Warring States fell into silence. After a pause of more than 10 seconds, Sengoku took a deep breath and said loudly, "All Marines, listen to the order, the war is over, stop chasing pirates, rescue your comrades, and clean up the battlefield." The sound spread throughout the battlefield. At the same time, Warring States restrained his abilities and returned to his human form. Upon hearing Sengoku's words, most of the Marines suddenly became dejected. They all know that this war is over, but they, Marine, are the losers. In the depressing atmosphere, the Marines began to clean up the mess. But in that case, there will inevitably be some casualties. If the entanglement continues and attracts help from Whitebeard or even Red Hair, it will be troublesome. The red-haired man laughed when he heard this, but then he changed the subject and said, "I'm not here for your favor with Whitebeard, but for the sake of Captain Roger." So he thanked the redhead too. So, after confirming that the war had ceased, he quickly retreated. He then looked at the redhead, for example, Kaido. At this time, as Marine and the pirates separated, some people began to evacuate on their own. Haha, is it Whitebeard's favor? This is very rare, but even without the red hair, they would probably be able to rescue Ace from Marine in the end. Saying this, he took a deep look at Ace and murmured, "It's really similar. Shanks." But now, with the red hair calling for a cessation of the war, these casualties have naturally been avoided. He knew that it would be difficult for him to face Yang Hao alone now. After all, there will be no Marine to stop Whitebeard and Redhead. Whitebeard raised his eyebrows and said seriously, "Red Hair, Laozi owes you a favor." When a few people join forces, what kind of scene will happen? He is a little scared when he thinks about it. Yeah, great. In comparison, the people on the Whitebeard pirates side cheered. Yang Hao didn't chase him either, Without much hesitation, he moved towards the red-haired man. But it was the red-haired conquerors, the strongest in the pirate world, who greatly interested him. It's not that he doesn't want to cause trouble for Yang Hao, but he knows that the current situation is no longer allowed. Kaido is also a smart man. Needless to say, Marine admitted defeat and we successfully rescued Ace. He does mean it. We won. Then the red-haired man turned to Luffy. Luffy, long time no see. It seems that you have become a real pirate. Kaido now poses no threat to him at all. Ace's face darkened. Who do you think I look like? Don't talk nonsense. Hearing the cheers of the people around him, a smile appeared on Whitebeard's lips. Luffy shouted with joy. At this time, the red-haired man also looked over at Whitebeard. After seeing that the Warring States period really decided to cease the war, Kaido glared at Yang Hao fiercely and left in a hurry. Just as Warring States thought just now,